Hello everyone, it's JD here with your latest Talking News update. First off, my apologies for not being able to record last week. It has been a particularly busy period with our end of quarter reports and a full round of board meetings as we plan our strategies for the new year ahead. That said, I am really pleased to share some great news. We have been generously supported by White Building Materials, who have kindly donated 3 tons of driveway stones towards our sensory garden project. This means that we can now move ahead with preparing the garden beds, ready for planting, and it's a great next step that brings us closer to seeing the garden fully come to life. As always, during these busy times, I'm humbled by the way everyone pulls together. It really is heartwarming to see our values reflected in the way that we work, support each other, and keep the spirit of Sight for White shining bright every day. Look forward to catching up with you all again soon, and until then, take care.
Here is this week's charity news, 7th of November 2025. Our next Hearing Cafe is on Monday at Busy Bee Garden Centre between 10:30am and 12pm. All very welcome.
Swimming at Medina is on Monday between 1:15pm and 2pm. We have the whole pool, so whether you wish to swim lanes or just have gentle exercise in the pool, you will be made very welcome. The cost is £6 and transport is available, although limited. All members are very welcome to join.
There will be no yoga until the new year due to volunteer unavailability.
Coffee and Chat is on Wednesday starting 10am until 11:30am. The cost is £2 to include drinks and cake. Staff are on hand to help with any queries and to demonstrate equipment.
Mix and Mingle is on Thursday at Millbrook House. We have a waiting list for this group, but if you are interested, please call the office to put your name down.
The Bargeman's Rest in Newport are holding a charity quiz in aid of us, Sight for White, on Wednesday, November the 12th, starting at 7:30pm. Cost is £3 per person, with teams of between 2 and 6 people per table. If you would like to take part, please call the Bargemans on 525-828 or email info@bargemansrest.com to book a table. Please go along and have some food and fun.
Our Christmas cards are also available, selling fast this year with several designs already being sold out. They are only £3.50 for packs of 10, so once again please call the office if you wish to order.
Our annual Christmas raffle is underway, and we thank everyone who has already returned their raffle tickets. Prizes are arriving at Millbrook House, but we're always grateful of any prizes anyone wishes to donate. If you would also like more tickets, please do not hesitate to call the office and we can send more books out in the post. The draw takes place on December the 10th during our festive morning.
We have hopefully all received your latest newsletter. Please take time to read through it, as there is a lot of interesting articles and information about the charity. You will also be pleased to know we are holding another Warner's Break in April next year. So if you are interested in joining us, please call the office and put your name down.
Once again, we will be displaying a Christmas tree at the Isle of Wight Pearl during the month of December. This year we've decided to decorate it with old recycled spectacles, and we are asking for all volunteers, members and staff to decorate a pair in any fashion you like. We will also be setting up a table at Coffee and Chat and Mix and Mingle so members can decorate a pair whilst at Millbrook House. We ask that all decorated pairs are returned to Millbrook by November the 21st.
This is Michael reading an article from Island Echo. New era dawns for Visit Isle of Wight as fresh board elected. A new era is dawning for Visit Isle of Wight as a fresh board of directors made up of leading figures from across the local tourism industry has been elected following long overdue elections. The move marks a significant turning point for the organisation, responsible for promoting the Isle of Wight as a visitor destination, following months of uncertainty and concerns about the effectiveness of its leadership amid a challenging period for the local tourism economy. It had recently come to light that scheduled elections for the Visit Isle of Wight VIOW board had not taken place as expected. That has now been rectified, with 12 new directors set to be formally confirmed at a general meeting on the 14th of November. The results have been independently verified by Tourism South East. In total, 24 candidates stood for election, with 208 eligible businesses casting votes, representing 1,463 validated votes. Those elected include some of the Isle of Wight's best-known tourism and leisure operators, signalling a shift towards greater local business representation within the organisation. The 12 individuals put forward for confirmation are Lawrence Bates, Wild Heart Animal Sanctuary; Laura Baxter, The Orchards Holiday Park; Matthew Brooks, The Royal Hotel; Derek Curtis, Amazon World; Claire Davis, Parkdean Resorts; Edward Day, Monkey Madness; David Holmes, Garlic Festival Limited; Mark Morgan Hughes, Isle of Wight Steam Railway; Lee Priddle, Robin Hill Partnership Limited; Nick Spiker, Sandringham Hotel; Stephen Wells, Luckham Hall Hotel; Dominic Ray, Blackgang Chine. The newly elected board represents a broad cross-section of the Isle of Wight's tourism sector, from hotels and attractions to events and parks, and is seen by many as a chance to inject renewed energy and vision into the body at a time when the island's visitor economy faces significant changes. Tourism on the Isle of Wight has been under increasing pressure, with declining visitor numbers and growing concern among businesses about connectivity and value for money travel. Will Miles, Managing Director of Visit Isle of Wight, who may well now be concerned for his future in the role, has said, "I thank everyone who stood for election, those who cast their votes, and congratulate the 12 people who have gained the majority of votes. I am looking forward to the final process of confirmation at the General Members' Meeting on the 14th of November, so that we can move forward with the new Board of Directors and continue the work of Visit Isle of Wight, marketing our wonderful island in what is an increasingly difficult climate for tourism nationally and globally. With the results now in and a new board poised to take the reins, many within the industry are anticipating change and perhaps a fresh direction for the organisation tasked with leading the Isle of Wight's tourism strategy."
This is Petrina reading from the Island Echo. Survey underway to monitor red squirrels across the Isle of Wight. An all-island red squirrel survey is now underway to help monitor the presence of the protected species across woodlands and gardens, with a special focus on Ryde. Becky Watts is leading the autumn survey of woodland areas over 1 hectare in size as part of the ongoing red squirrel monitoring strategy. The survey aims to identify where squirrels are present or absent to help protect this nationally important population. Anyone who owns woodland over 1 hectare and is willing to have it checked as part of the study is asked to contact Helen at whitesquirrels@hotmail.com. Over the last 20 years, tree planting and habitat corridor studies have helped link up countryside areas, but attention is now turning to urban zones. Ryde has been selected as a starting point to better understand how red squirrels move through towns and whether any are settling in residential gardens. Garden owners in Ryde are being encouraged to report any squirrel sightings from 2025. Reports should include the date of the sighting, or an estimate if unsure, the postcode, the colour of the squirrel's coat, which helps track individuals. Red squirrels vary widely in colour, from bright red to brown and even grey, making detailed observations helpful for ongoing studies. Sightings can be submitted via email to whitesquirrels@hotmail.com or by calling 01983 611 003 and leaving a message including your phone number for a return call.
Isle of Wight MP calls for new law to regulate ferry services, from Isle of Wight Radio. Isle of Wight East MP Joe Robertson introduced a proposed new law in Parliament aimed at improving ferry services, including those serving the Isle of Wight. Following Prime Minister's questions, Mr Robertson brought forward the Ferry Services Integration and Regulation Bill under the 10-minute rule motion. The bill looks to regulate ferry operations across the UK, including across Solent routes, in a similar way to how train and bus services are already managed. Currently, there are no national rules governing how ferry operators set prices, timetables, or service standards. Mr Robertson MP says this leaves the island and communities like the Isle of Wight dependent on unregulated private companies for vital transport links. The proposed law aims to make ferry services more reliable and affordable and to bring them in line with the wider public transport system. The bill has received cross-party support with backing from MPs representing 5 political parties across England, Scotland and Northern Ireland, including Richard Quigley MP, the MP for Isle of Wight West. Mr Robertson is also seeking to amend the government's English devolution bill to ensure any future mayor for Hampshire and the Isle of Wight would have powers to regulate cross-Solent ferry services. During his speech in the House of Commons, Mr Robertson highlighted the difference between the regulation of trains and buses, which must meet government standards on pricing, timetables and performance, and the lack of similar oversight for ferries. Those who provide public transport do so with certain conditions imposed upon them, he said. Train and bus operators are required to offer fair pricing and publish performance data. But ferry companies, which so many island and coastal communities depend on, face no such national standards. The East Wight MP also directly addressed the ferry operators. If I had the owners of Whitelink and Red Funnel in front of me now, I would say this. We're tired of your methods, tired of your rip-off prices, and tired of funding your ballooning bank debts. You should be providing a lifeline service which the taxpayer helped you maintain during COVID. Mr Robertson added that the ferry companies should welcome regulation if they truly care about passengers. He recently met with Maritime Minister Keir Mather MP, who committed to holding regular meetings with both Isle of Wight MPs to discuss ferry issues. However, Mr Robertson warned that warm words must be followed by tangible action. The Ferry Services Integration and Regulation Bill will now enter a ballot of backbench bills for a possible debate on the 28th of November this year. The government has not yet taken a position on the proposal.
This is Michael reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Retired GP discovers 3 new dinosaur species on the Isle of Wight. A retired GP has discovered 3 new species of dinosaur on the Isle of Wight, proving you're never too old to follow your passion or even complete a PhD. 68-year-old Dr. Jeremy Lockwood from the University of Portsmouth made the remarkable discoveries while studying fossils from the island, unearthing creatures that last walked on the earth around 125 million years ago. Dr. Lockwood's fascination with fossils began in childhood, but it was family holidays to the Isle of Wight that reignited his passion for paleontology. After years working as a GP, he decided to retire and pursue a PhD in dinosaur research. We'd spend hours walking the beaches where the dinosaur beds are, and we started finding bones. That brought it all back, said Dr. Lockwood. Studying thousands of bones from the Dinosaur Isle of Wight Museum in Sandown and the Natural History Museum, Jeremy's meticulous work has now revealed 3 entirely new species. Brystonius simonsi, discovered near Bryston and named after both the village and local fossil collector Keith Simmons. Comptonatus chasei, found at Compton Bay, named in honour of late local fossil hunter Nick Chase, who first discovered the specimen. Istiorachis macarthuri, identified from long overlooked fossils in museum collections. This dinosaur likely had a sail-like structure along its back and is named in tribute to Isle of Wight sailor Dame Ellen MacArthur. Sometimes the most remarkable discoveries are hiding in plain sight, said Dr. Lockwood. To spend my later years helping to reveal new species and piece together an ancient ecosystem is extraordinary. Bones from all 3 dinosaurs are now on display in Dinosaur Isle in Yaverland. Dr. Lockwood continues to research the island's prehistoric past and hopes to fund a 3D scanner to create a life-size model of Comptonatus chasei. The discoveries reinforce the Isle of Wight's reputation as Europe's richest dinosaur site, and a place where history continues to be written millions of years after the dinosaurs disappeared.
This is Patrina reading from the Isle of Wight radio. Special care dental service waits. Really worrying, says health watchdog. The waiting times for Hampshire and the Isle of Wight's NHS special care dental services are over 2 years, a health watchdog has told County Hall. Speaking at the Adult Social Care, Public Health and Housing Needs Committee last week, October the 30th, Health Watch Isle of Wight manager Joanne Smith said it was really worrying that the waits were so long. Hampshire and the Isle of Wight Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust Special Care Dental Service provides specialised care for people with additional needs who cannot receive care in a general dental setting. Those that can be assisted by the service include children who have profound learning difficulties, mental health conditions, or severe physical disabilities, and adults with a severe disability, medical, physical, or mental health condition, according to the Trust. Addressing NHS Hampshire and the Isle of Wight Primary Care Director James Roach, Miss Smith said, "We've been getting lots of feedback from people who are struggling to access that service, and we understand that waiting times are over 2 years. And of course the people that use that, adults and children, have quite complex needs. So it's really worrying that the waiting times are so long. I wonder if you're looking at that and what are your plans to address it?" Mr. Roach answered, "We recognise that's an issue. One of the things we are doing is getting a more regular track on waiting times now from the provider. So we have a regular meeting in terms of total waiting lists, those waiting over a period of time, and how they're prioritised. What can we do as a commissioner? We put some additional resources into protected sessions and additional hours for looked-after children, patients with clinical vulnerabilities, and patients who might require a more specialist follow-up in a different setting." Mr. Roach said there was probably a supply issue and pointed to the NHS supporting the orthodontic provider on the Isle of Wight to recruit another dentist. He added the NHS was aware of the waits and was looking to prioritise, put resources in where we can.
Prisoners face punishment after rooftop disorder at HMP Isle of Wight. From the Island Echo. The Ministry of Justice says that 2 serving prisoners will face punishment following a significant disorder incident at HMP Isle of Wight last night. It was shortly before 5 o'clock on Monday that the alarming situation started behind the prison walls, with what is understood to be 2 inmates scaling onto the roof of the prison, as well as causing criminal damage elsewhere. After more than 3 hours, the National Police Air Service helicopter from Bournemouth was tasked to the scene and spent a short time circling in the skies above the Parkhurst area of Newport to get a bird's eye view of the situation. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary was made aware of the incident, with officers seen patrolling the perimeter wall throughout the evening. It's thought this was in connection with fears that a drone was being utilised to drop contraband to the prisoners on the rooftop. Island Echo understands that specialist tornado teams were rushed across to the Solent to get a handle on the situation, descending on the prison clad in riot gear. The specially trained prison staff, described as being the last line of defence when things go wrong, are called in to deal with serious incidents like riots and hostage situations. However, the Ministry of Justice denies that tornado teams were deployed on the island, despite no fewer than 10 covert vehicles, including dog support units, seen heading back to the mainland on the 4:30 a.m. ferry from East Cowes on Tuesday. A spokesperson for the Ministry of Justice has told Island Echo, thanks to the efforts of our staff, the incident at HMP Isle of Wight was safely resolved. The 2 prisoners involved will face punishment as disorder in prisons is not tolerated. The MOJ has not provided any specific details on what happened, keeping a veil of mystery on what actually goes on behind bars. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary has refused to comment on what happened.
This is the second part of the Talking News, read by Jerry
and Susan.
CEOs have their say on legislation. Red Funnel and Whitelink have had their say on proposed new ferry regulation. Frank Collins, CEO of Red Funnel, insists the firm operates a consistently high-frequency service, even during periods of very low demand. On pricing, she pointed to the Big Book of Savings issued to islanders and said over 140,000 discounted journeys have been booked in 2025 to date. She said whilst it is clear a large percentage of residents take advantage of the discounts, we know there's more to do to ensure island residents understand our pricing and savings. Meanwhile, Whitelink CEO Katie Taylor said she welcomes debate, engagement with stakeholders and will continue supporting efforts to improve transport. In 2025, we've added sailings, engaged with islanders, introduced safer fares and launched free travel for college students, all while maintaining strong performance, she said.
Investigation underway after cargo ship collision. An investigation is underway after a cargo ship lost power and collided with moored yachts on the island's biggest river. The Shetland Trader, a 75-metre cargo vessel, experienced engine failure on its way down the River Medina on Tuesday evening. The ship's anchor was deployed to slow down and control movement, but the vessel made contact with moored yacht and motorboat before coming to a stop. During the incident at around 7 p.m, the yacht's moorings were parted and it became entangled with the cargo vessel structure. HM Coast Guard previously said that no one was injured in the incident. With help from local boat owners, the yacht was safely removed from the bow of the vessel and secured alongside a pontoon. The Shetland Trader later regained engine power, recovered its anchor and continued passage to the commercial wharf in Cowes. Cowes Harbour Commission confirmed a full investigation is underway and all relevant vessel owners and authorities have been informed. A spokesperson said, staff were quickly on scene to assist with the safe movement of the yacht and to conduct initial inspections of the affected vessels. Harbour staff also attended the Shetland Trader to take statements from both the master and the pilot. Cowes Harbour Commission would like to thank all those who assisted during and after the incident for their cooperation and prompt response.
Police investigating attempted pharmacy break-in. A pharmacy was cordoned off by police on Saturday morning following an attempted break-in. Gibbs and Gurnell Chemists on Union Street in Ryde was targeted overnight. One of its windows was smashed and had to be boarded up. The shop was closed for a couple of hours before reopening. A spokesman for the NHS pharmacy said no stock was taken, but we may be experiencing some delays owing to a backlog after losing 2 hours of business. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary said a 31-year-old man was arrested on suspicion of burglary. He was taken into custody.
Bail for teen and man after home's evacuation. A teenager and a man have been bailed after a late-night police raid in Gurnard over explosive fears sparked an evacuation of nearby homes. The search carried out on Monday evening in Cockleton Lane, Gurnard, was also part of an investigation into a report of malicious communications of a sexual nature. During the operation, officers discovered a number of suspicious objects, prompting the evacuation of nearby homes within a 100-metre radius. No explosive materials were found, as Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary said. A 14-year-old from Cowes was arrested on suspicion of sending communications of an indecent or offensive nature. Both he and the 58-year-old man was also arrested on suspicion of possessing an offensive weapon in a private place and possessing an explosive substance for an unlawful purpose. They have been bailed with conditions until February the 3rd next year, while police inquiries continue.
Staff not being paid for months. Wonderful and fantastic staff at the East Cowes Jehoots Pharmacy have not been paid in 3 months, a councillor has said. Independent East Cowes Representative Carl Love voiced disquiet over several Jehoots pharmacy closures at the Adult Social Care Public Health and Housing Needs Committee last Thursday, October the 30th. A committee paper issued prior to the forum said Island pharmacy services have recently undergone serious challenges and underlined unexpected closures of a number of Jehoots branches. It said short-notice closures have left many residents unable to access essential medications, resulting in distress and inconvenience. Councillor Love told the council chamber, "I'm directly impacted by the closure of East Cowes shop, which has not been open for some time now. Thank you so much to the wonderful and the fantastic staff, not to Jehoots that tried to keep that going, who have been paid for 3 months. And they showed a level of integrity which goes above and beyond in trying to keep that service going." He expressed concern over losing the pharmacy first service, a frontline port of call at the time of illness. The pharmacy first scheme allows pharmacies to treat several common conditions with prescription-only medicines without patients visiting a GP. That service is now lost, he added, so that it is a reduction in our frontline service for the island. Councillor Love also raised a significant impact on public health from residents not accessing prescriptions and pharmacy services, said the delivery of health checks, sexual health and home screening services was now lost, and pointed to the stress put on other pharmacies from the Jehoots closures. What are we doing to resolve that? They're Jehoots being paid for those services. I'm assuming that you're going to recover the services. These are significant contracts issued by the NHS to pharmacy services. James Roach, Director of Primary Care at NHS Hampshire and Isle of Wight, says statements have already been issued to locally in terms of where people can access alternative services. Our GPs in the area have been really helpful in terms of redirecting patients as well, so we'll continue to give that message to patients in terms of service continuity and where services are provided. Jehoots has been contacted for a comment.
Heartbreak as sheep left dead in attack. A woman has been left heartbroken after one of her pet sheep were brutally attacked by what is suspected to be a dog. Denise Dover-Valander from Newport has issued a heartfelt plea to dog owners, imploring them to keep their pets on leads around livestock. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary confirmed it is investigating the incident. For the past 7 years, the 52-year-old has kept her sheep in a field adjacent to Carisbrooke Castle. When she visited around 2:45 p.m. last Sunday, she instantly knew something was wrong after seeing one of her sheep, Poppy, on the ground, separated from the flock. When she rushed over, she noticed Poppy was covered in blood, with half her ears gone. There was also bite marks around her neck. What was worse was the owner of the dog left that sheep to die. There's no excuse for that, she said. A public footpath runs through the field. Denise believes walkers assume it is empty and let their dogs run free. In the years her sheep have been kept there, she said there have been at least 8 attacks from dogs. The first saw 22 adult sheep die in 4 days. Some were mauled to death and some died from shock. Following the attacks, Denise said she made a decision 5 years ago not to replace the current flock once they had gone. Denise said she loves dogs and they are not the issue. She wants owners to be more responsible. Don't just let them off the lead and do what they want, then let the farmers pick up the pieces. Every time we have to do it and every time we have to foot the bill. She said signage warnings of livestock in the field were previously been ripped down. Going forward, she plans to install trail cameras as a deterrent. As for Poppy, Denise said she is at home in the garden, but admits it is going to be a long recovery. Anyone with information is urged to call the police on 101.
I trusted him and he betrayed me. Jail for cowboy builder. A cowboy builder who took thousands of pounds from multiple clients has been jailed for almost 4 years. Richard William Sullivan of Royal Street in Sandown attended the Isle of Wight Crown Court. The 50-year-old was found guilty after trial on August the 21st of 2 counts of fraudulent business carried out by a sole trader. Fraud by failing to disclose information and fraud by false representation. The offences took place between October the 31st, 2021 and April the 1st, 2023, during which Sullivan accepted more than £20,000 for work, guttering, fascia and soffit work through his company RS Home Improvements. Kim Massey, one of Sullivan's victims, took the witness box and revealed his actions had left her feeling powerless and anxious. Mrs. Massey explained the significant damage to her house, particularly the porch, and said Sullivan had left rubbish in her garage. Prosecutor Duncan Milne read out further victim statements. One from Mrs. Chessel said she paid Sullivan £1,500 to replace guttering, but he failed to return, leaving rain pouring down everywhere from the unfinished guttering. Another victim, Miss Carver, said she felt stupid for being conned, had suffered financial loss and lost trust in tradespeople. Miss Baker, another victim, wrote in her victim statement that she had suffered lack of sleep due to worrying about the damage to her house. In 2016, Sullivan, who had 33 previous convictions for 66 offences, was sentenced for taking cash for roofing work he never began, for which he received a 14-month prison term. During his most recent offending, he took a total of £20,360 from victims. Defending, Oliver Hirsch argued his client had good intentions and planned to complete the work. Mr. Hirsch said Sullivan used his real name and business name, accepted mostly bank transfers rather than cash, and had spent £5,000 on materials. Mr. Hirsch told the court Sullivan was a carer for his wife, and if he was sent to custody, Mr. Hirsch said it would impact his family. Sentencing, Recorder James Bromwich described Sullivan's crimes as a get-rich-quick scheme after his attempts at cannabis supply had failed. He said there were 6 victims who had all paid Sullivan money for work that was not completed, and 3 homes suffered water damage. Sullivan was sentenced to 3 years and 9 months in prison.
Dentistry worrying waiting times. The waiting times for Hampshire and Isle of Wight NHS Special Care Dental Service are over 2 years, a health watchdog has told County Hall. Speaking at the Adult Social Care, Public Health and Housing Needs Committee last week, October the 30th, Healthwatch Isle of Wight's manager, Joanna Smith, said it was really worrying that the waits were so long. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust Special Care Dental Service provides specialist care for people with additional needs who cannot receive care in a general dental setting. Those that can be assisted by the service include children who have profound learning difficulties, mental health conditions or severe physical disabilities, and adults with severe disability, medical, physical or mental health conditions, according to the Trust. Addressing NHS Hampshire and the Isle of Wight Primary Care Director, James Roach, Miss Smith said, "We've been getting lots of feedback from people that are struggling to access this service, and we understand the waiting times are over 2 years. And of course, the people that use that, adults and children, have quite complex needs. So it's really worrying that the waiting times are so long. I wonder if you're looking at that and what are your plans to address that?" Mr. Roach answered, "We recognise that there's an issue. One of the things we are doing is getting a more regular track on waiting times now from the provider. So we have a regular meeting in terms of total waiting list, those waiting over a period of time and how they're prioritised. What can we do as a commissioner? We put some additional resource into protected sessions and additional hours for looked after children, patients with clinical vulnerabilities and patients who might require a more specialist follow-up in a different setting." Mr. Roach said there was probably a supply issue and pointed to the NHS supporting the orthodontic provider on the Isle of Wight to recruit another dentist. He added the NHS was aware of the waits and was looking to prioritise, put resource in where we can.
Inquest concludes drug-related death after arrest. An inquest into the death of an Isle of Wight woman, which was initially treated as suspicious by police, has concluded as drug-related. Completed in writing at the Isle of Wight Coroner's Court last month, the inquest examined the death of Joanne Clark, who was born in Wakefield, West Yorkshire, but was living in Upper Ventnor. Following a major emergency response on March the 13th, 2023, Miss Clark, 57, was found dead at her home on Chestnut Close. At the time, the incident attracted significant public interest as police arrested a man on suspicion of causing or allowing the death of a vulnerable adult. He was later released, and no one has ever been charged in relation to Miss Clark's death. According to the record of inquest released by the Coroner's Office, Miss Clark was discovered at her home shortly after 10 a.m, having consumed a cocktail of prescription medication. The medical cause of death was recorded as a mixture of drugs. Myocardial hypertrophy and ischemic fibrosis, which is heart disease, were also listed as contributing factors. Coroner Caroline Summeray concluded that Miss Clark's death was drug-related, meaning it was unintentional result of drug consumption rather than a deliberate act. The inquest was held in private under Section 9C of the Coroners and Justice Act 2009.
Finalists in Tourism Awards. Top island businesses have earned recognition in the 2025 Beautiful South Tourism Awards, standing out amongst the region's best. The prestigious awards celebrate excellence across the south-east of England, with winners announced at the ceremony at the Grand Brighton on December the 9th. At the event, the winner will be announced with selected awards going on to represent the south-east at the Visit England Awards for Excellence next year. Luckham Hall in Shanklin has been shortlisted as a finalist for a small hotel of the year, while its sister property, Luckham Manor, is a finalist in the Dog Friendly Business of the Year category. Luckham Hall recently opened a retro gaming arcade and a tropical indoor pool. Meanwhile, at Luckham Manor, the team has transformed dog-friendly hospitality with a thermostatic dog wash area, a prep kitchen for pet food, and a secure dog playground with agility equipment. Director Stephen Wells said, "We're absolutely thrilled to see both hotels recognised. It is a real testament to our incredible team, whose commitment shines through in every guest experience." At the Wild Heart Animal Sanctuary in Sandown, the Wild Heart Cafe has been commended in the Cafe Tea Room of the Year category, while the sanctuary itself has been named a finalist in the Regenerative Tourism Award. The recognition highlights the attraction's commitment to ethical tourism and sustainability. The Royal Hotel in Ventnor has been named a finalist for Restaurant of the Year for the 4th consecutive year. The hotel's restaurant draws diners from across the island and beyond, with the recognition cementing its reputation for excellence in hospitality. A spokesman said, "Being a finalist is a huge recognition of our amazing teams, who give their all every single day to create unforgettable dining experiences. A massive thank you to our incredible team and wonderful guests. We couldn't do this without you." East Afton Farmhouse near Freshwater has been shortlisted as a finalist in the Wedding Venue of the Year category, acknowledging its exceptional hospitality and service for couples celebrating their big day.
Islanders spot Royal Navy's futuristic Minehunter. Islanders looking out across the Solent on Monday, November the 3rd, may have caught sight of the Royal Navy's latest specialised mine-hunting vessel, HMS Stirling Castle. The distinctive blue and white warship was seen off-ride at around 10:30 a.m, sailing into Portsmouth for the first time after successful sea trials. The sighting marks her arrival at the naval base in Portsmouth, which will now serve as her home port. Purchased in 2022 for the Royal Fleet Auxiliary and officially redesignated HMS Stirling Castle in July 2025, the vessel will spearhead the Royal Navy's next-generation mine hunting and underwater options. She will act as the floating command platform for the Mine Threat Exploitation Group, which uses remotely operated and autonomous systems to detect and neutralise underwater mines and unexploded ordnance. Her presence off the Isle of Wight could become a regular sight as she undertakes training and operational duties around UK waters. The ship was greeted in Portsmouth by families, friends and well-wishers, celebrating months of dedication by her 55-strong crew. Commander Phil Harper, the ship's commanding officer, praised his crew for their exceptional efforts in transforming the vessel from a Royal Fleet Auxiliary ship into a fully operational Royal Navy unit.
How Fred kept 30-year promise. A chance encounter 30 years ago, followed by a written invitation, saw TV legend and journalist Fred Dinenage make good a promise to visit the award-winning youth centre TC's at Shanklin Voluntary Youth and Community Centre before going on stage at Shanklin Theatre with his Ronnie, Reggie and Me show. Fred first found fame as a presenter of the children's educational television show How, which ran from 1966 to 1981, and on meeting SVYCC leader Mark Biddlecombe and some of the volunteers, Fred unveiled information panels depicting his early involvement and other events in the history of the centre. He showed volunteer DJ and club chairman John Gilby how to DJ and planted a shrub in the gardens of the centre, a project recognised by the National Green Flag Award. Mark presented Fred with a mug designed by members at the centre. It was kind of Fred to pop in and support the work of the centre. He's kept in touch with us for 30 years with his involvement, helping secure the grant that built the disco. Fred said, The centre is a credit to all the volunteers, and I'm glad that I was able to play a part in its development, which I have now seen firsthand. Later at Shanklin Theatre, interviewed by Alex Dyke, himself a former DJ at Shanklin Youth Club in the 1970s, Fred told the story of meeting Ronnie and Reggie Kray, as well as Charlie, the twins' elder brother. He gave insights into his interviews with other members of the underworld from the 1960s and 70s, without glamorising what happened or the murders they were responsible for. With an audience of more than 400 people, Fred's journalistic route shone through, highlighting painstaking research and an eye for detail. He also took questions from the public, including 2010 Commonwealth silver medalist Richard Wilson, who noted further links between the Krays and the island. Fred also shared details of a conversation he had with The Who's Roger Daltrey before he started work on the book commissioned by the Gangland twins. The presentation was featured lighter moments from Fred's career, including his appearance on Tiswas, presenting World of Sport and becoming the face of Southern TV, TVS and Meridian. Fred also recounted that he was recruited by Jack Hargreaves to be a Pratt member of the Howe team.
Life is a struggle for shoplifter. A shoplifter who kicked off at two cashiers, inviting one to step outside to sort it out, told magistrates life was a bit of a struggle. Leighton Downs, of no fixed address, appeared before Isle of Wight magistrates on Friday, October the 31st. The 27-year-old admitted possession of cocaine, 2 counts of theft from a shop and 2 public order offences between August the 17th and September the 26th. Prosecutor Lauren McConnell said at around 8:40am Downs entered Tesco Express in Lake and stole beers and sandwiches to the value of £20. She said when he was asked to leave after stuffing the items in a bag, he swore at a member of staff. Miss McConnell said Downs left and entered Sainsbury's in Sandown, where he stole £33.20 worth of food and alcohol. The court heard he was verbally aggressive towards a member of staff, inviting him to step outside to sort it out and telling him he would be waiting for him. Miss McConnell said the drug offence related to an incident on September the 26th. Downs had been arrested for an unrelated matter, and during a search a small quantity of cocaine was found in his wallet. Michael McGoldrick, defending, said Downs was currently living in a tent and was at court on a warrant, and all his possessions had been burnt in a fire. Downs, who has 16 previous convictions for 32 offences and who was jailed for 17 months in November 22, saw his case adjourned to January the 16th so a pre-sentence report could be drawn up. He was granted unconditional bail until that date. Downs told magistrates life was a bit of a struggle at the minute. On being released from custody, he told his solicitor, "Cheers, Michael. Best solicitor ever."
Now we move on to White memories and nostalgia. Days gone by. The county press has been bringing the news to islanders since 1884, and we've delved into the archives. 125 years ago, in November 1900, islanders were holding their breaths, awaiting the return of the Isle of Wight Rifle volunteers from South Africa. The War Office was not in position to give any information as to when the volunteers attached to the 2nd Battalion Hampshire Regiment were due to return. A torpedo discharged from a practising torpedo boat 2 miles out from Sandown Bay landed on the beach at Shanklin.
100 years ago, in November 1925, several small craft lying in the harbour at East Cowes were damaged during a northwesterly gale. The vessels were blown onto the rocks. A Gurnard police officer was unable to remember the details of an accident in which he fell off his bicycle and bumped his head. The officer received slight concussion following the accident at Newport Road, Cowes, and was taken home by car. New book shines spotlight on Ireland's railway heritage. Woman was furious about lake being called Sandown West 100 years ago.
In November 1950, two girls playing on High Park Road, Elmfield, were lucky to escape with their lives after a Tiger Moth plane crashed just 20 yards away. Both the pilot and passenger were killed. Over 40 challenge cups were competed for in the West White Methodist Circuit, Eisteddfod. There were over 90 classes and 300 entries from 12 churches.
50 years ago, in November 1975, Ireland MP Stephen Ross was said to be amazed and appalled at the conditions endured by tenants of Southfield Gardens in Ryde. Tenants showed the MP's homes that were rat-infested, suffered rising damp, rotten woodwork, and had no electric lighting upstairs. The 7th October in succession had below average rainfall, according to County Press weatherman Kenneth Hoskin. He said less than an inch of rain had fallen in Ryde compared with the average of more than 3 inches. British Rail cuts threatened to axe Sunday trains between Ryde Esplanade and Shankling. Around £3,000 worth of scenery used in the summer shows at Ryde Pavilion was destroyed by a fire. The scenery was kept in a store at Puckpool Park.
And now exploring sinking of the SS Menai. A war memorial in Sussex marks the sinking of the SS Menai off the Isle of Wight, writes Chris Horlick. It is found in a new timber church, St John the Evangelist, located just north of Saddlescombe and the Devil's Dyke. It takes the form of a bough from a South African tree that's 5 feet long and inscribed. The tragedy it represents is a fascinating, though heart-rending story from the First World War. The branch commemorates the sinking of the SS Menai in the English Channel off the Isle of Wight on the 21st of February 1917, with the loss of more than 600 men, mostly South Africans. Sometimes dubbed as the Black Titanic, it was one of the worst UK maritime disasters of the 20th century. The ship sailed from Cape Town carrying men of the 5th Battalion South African Native Corps, assigned to serve alongside British and Allied troops in northern France. Most had never seen the sea before and were very few could swim. They thought of themselves as warriors going to fight, true men of the Empire, even though, in reality, most would be digging trenches and dugouts on the Western Front. None could see any action, as a conscripted black man was not permitted to raise his hand in anger against any white man, even the German enemy. Some of the troops were recruited, registered with invented British names to replace their real ones, just to make the paperwork easier. They would receive £3 a month in wages. A British munitions worker at this time would be earning at least 8 times that amount. The route the ship took included stopping off at Lagos in Nigeria, then at Plymouth, before heading through the Channel towards Le Havre, under escort from the destroyer HMS Brisk. At 5 a.m. in thick fog, the Menai was in a collision with another ship, a large cargo vessel, the SS Darrow, 19 kilometres south of St Catherine's Point.
The Darrow was nearly 3 times the size of the Menai, and the damage caused to the forward hold resulted in the ship keeling almost over, straight away. Some men were killed outright due to the impact, others were trapped below decks, but a large group gathered on the Menai's uppermost deck and, seeing the situation was hopeless, prepared to meet their deaths with great stoicism and dignity, performing what can only be described as a dance of death as the ship gradually slid beneath the waves. They stomped in unison with their bare feet and chanted a communal prayer led by an interpreter on board, Isaac Williams Wauchope. The Darrow did not stay to help the men, for reasons never fully explained, but the Brisk lowered its lifeboats and some were rescued. However, 646 were lost going down with the ship, and they still lie with the wreck on the seabed. The Menai has never been recovered. Many of the men's families weren't told details of the tragedy, a situation that wasn't fully resolved until as recently as 2001. An investigation took place a few months after the sinking, with the court concluding that the Darrow's master, Henry Stump, had travelled at a dangerously high speed in thick fog and failed to ensure that his ship emitted the necessary fog signals. His licence was suspended for a year, although the ship was repaired in just 12 weeks. The wreck wasn't decisively located until 1974, resting upright on the seabed, but found to be breaking up with the boilers exposed. Earl Sidney Buxton, Governor of South Africa at the time, lived in New Timber Place, a 16th century moated house. His grandson still lives there today. And then when a site for memorial was being finalised, neighbouring New Timber Church was put forward as a suitable UK location, with another, larger memorial in South Africa also erected. But why a tree branch? The branch was presented to New Timber Church in September 2013 by Zai Higma, grandson of one of the men who had died, who was in fact a tribal chief named Bakenli. Cut from a Diwabism tree from Pondoland on the eastern Caribbean province of South Africa, the branch was symbolic of the lost men's homeland. The belief was that a dead person's spirit cannot rest unless their bones are in their native country. As the men's bones were on the seabed and irretrievable, an identical branch was lowered down to the actual wreck in the belief the dead men's spirits would be able to bond with part of their homeland and thereby find rest. A special memorial service was held at New Timber Church on the 19th of February 2017 to commemorate the centenary. A strange twist to the story came later that year when the ship's bell, which someone had secretly recovered, was anonymously given to a BBC reporter. This was duly presented to South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa by Theresa May, then Britain's Prime Minister, in August 2018 whilst on an official visit. The sinking has achieved almost legendary status in South Africa. New Timber Church is open daily to visitors, but for a guided tour, book through Mrs. Nagari Digby, email nigsdigby@aol.com.
And now we move on to My View. This week it's from Emma Bowden for Remembrance Week. In the summer of 2025, I was so lucky with my family to visit Japan. 80 years after the atomic bombs were dropped over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, two events that forever changed Japan and the world. This was our first time in Japan, and it did not disappoint. The temples, neon streets, and tranquil gardens, and a poignant opportunity to explore a nation that has turned devastation into resilience, remembrance, and renewal. Japan in summer bursts with energy, from colourful Matsuri festivals to fireworks lighting up the humid night sky. Yet this year carried a deeper tone of remembrance. August the 6th and August the 9th saw solemn ceremonies marking the 80th anniversary of the bombings, with survivors, government leaders and visitors gathering to honour the past and promote peace. For us as travellers, the commemorations offered a powerful way to engage with history while witnessing Japan's enduring spirit. Both Hiroshima and Nagasaki have evolved into vibrant, hopeful cities, symbols not of tragedy, but of humanity's capacity to rebuild, whilst at the same time reflecting the past with simple but impactful memorial gardens, museums, and the emotional connection of the children's peace gardens and memorials. Hiroshima, a city once levelled by the first atomic bomb in August the 6th, 1945. Today, it thrives as a beacon of peace and progress. The Peace Memorial Park lies at the heart of the city, a tranquil space filled with trees, sculptures and memorials dedicated to the victims.
The Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum, which has recently undergone thoughtful updates for the anniversary year, exhibits the stories of ordinary people affected by extraordinary destruction. And the museum's message is clear: never again. It was a very hard-hitting, and although at the time my 9-year-old was very quiet, she reflects on it being one of the best parts of our travel. Nearby stands the Genbaku Dome, atomic bomb dome, preserved in the same skeletal form it was found after the blast. Seeing it in person is both sobering and strangely uplifting, a reminder of what humanity can endure and how time also moves on. Not healing, but of quiet remembrance. Nagasaki, bombed 3 days after Hiroshima, carries its own powerful story, known for its historical mix of Japanese and European influences. The city's churches, gardens and hillside views tell of resilience through diversity. The Nagasaki Atomic Bomb Museum and Peace Park offer another window into the human cost of war and the strength of reconciliation. The peace statue, with one hand pointing to the sky and another extended in peace, remains one of Japan's most moving monuments. Commemorating the 80th anniversary doesn't mean dwelling solely on sorrow. Japan invites travellers to witness how remembrance coexists with vibrant life. From Tokyo's bustling Shibura crossing to Kyoto's serene temples, the nation embodies a balance of tradition, innovation and hope. This summer we witnessed cultural institutions which hosted special exhibitions, peace concerts and art installations inspired by the anniversary. Visiting Japan in 2025 was more than sightseeing. It was an act of connection to a different culture and history that affected and affects us all. Standing beneath the paper cranes of Hiroshima's Children's Peace Monument in the rain was sombering in reflection on the cost of conflict across the world and the power of compassion. 80 years on, Japan continues to remind the world that peace is not just a memory, it's a responsibility. Our trip to Japan was one of not just beauty, but meaning, as the clock at the Hiroshima Museum continues to count the days since the atomic bomb hit and the number of days since the last nuclear test.
And now we move on to What's On. Saturday, the 8th of November, we have the Ride Drop-In and Support Group for people living with diabetes. This is at the Ride Methodist Church, 14 Garfield Road, and it starts at 10 o'clock. Come along and for a chat and a cuppa. All are very welcome. Saturday, the 15th of November, the famous Slipshods charity concert is once again at the Freshwater Memorial Hall, Avenue Road, Freshwater, starting at 7 o'clock. This is a charity concert in support of the Mountbatten. Tickets are £10 each. Call 5755232. And finally, from me, Tuesday the 18th of November, the Newport Drop-In Centre for Diabetes at St Thomas of Canterbury's Catholic Church Hall, starting at 1 p.m.
And for me, on Wednesday the 12th of November, we have the West White Drop-In Support Group for people living with diabetes. This is at 2 p.m. and everybody's welcome at Freshwater Methodist Church, which is 2 Brookside Road, Freshwater. And you can email them on diabetesgroupiow@gmail.com or call them on 0741 5399 102. Also, on Thursday the 13th of November, we have the East Cowes Drop-In Support Group for people living with diabetes. That's at 1:30 p.m. and that is at Parkside Pavilion, Vectis Road in East Cowes. And the telephone number again is 0741 5399 102. And lastly, on Friday the 14th of November, we have Pink Floyd Experience. This is celebrating 50 years since the release of the Wish You Were Here album, and it's at the Medina Leisure Centre Theatre in Fairley Road, Newport, and the telephone number there is 823 884.
And now finally the letters. The older are the forgotten, by Mr. T. Fisher of Limerston. We are forgotten people. My parents fought in a war to engage peace and prosperity for us. We've had it, but now one is older, technology has moved on. A lot of people moved on with it, but a lot were left behind. It's a nightmare, out shopping, you don't seem to be a person anywhere. You have to just move on as quickly as possible. What next? Robots? Then where would jobs come from?
Brexit is the problem, says Dr. G. Clark of Shanklin. Dear Editor, on Monday, November the 3rd, 2025, Nigel Farage set out Reform UK's key economic policies at a widely reported press conference. He admitted that his Brexit has wrecked our economy. He then announced Reform solutions: end the triple lock and cut pensions, reduce the minimum wage, reduce spending on the NHS, cut the mental health budget by £9 billion per annum, presently £4.5 billion per annum, more of deregulation that resulted in events such as Grenfell, reduce trade with our neighbours, no cuts in taxes. How will this turbocharged version of coalition austerity improve our quality of life, please?
MP's speech was great. Who was listening? By V. Prosser of Southampton. Dear Editor, I wish to commend Isle of Wight East MP Joe Robertson for the powerful speech he delivered in Parliament this week. Mr. Robertson spoke with passion about an issue that affects every islander: the cost, reliability and accountability of the Lifeline ferry services. He explained that while trains and buses are subject to regulation on pricing, timetables and performance, ferries remain outside any national framework. As he rightly pointed out, this leaves communities such as ours at the mercy of private operators who can charge eye-watering sums for a 5-mile crossing while reducing frequency and avoiding scrutiny. Mr. Robertson did not shy away from telling Whitelink and Red Funnel exactly what islanders feel. We are tired of rip-off prices and tired of profits being put ahead of passengers. His call for ferries to be treated like other public transport providers is both fair and overdue. I was born on the island, but had to move away because of the cost and inconvenience of commuting meant that I was unable to live on the island while working on the mainland. However, my mother and the rest of my family are still on the island, and as well as the cost of travelling to visit, I see the struggles they have with the sky-high cost of travelling across the Solent. I urge readers to watch Mr. Robertson's speech. It is rare to hear an MP speak so directly and with so much conviction about the daily struggles of his constituents. He, the MP in the West Wight, deserves support, as does Richard Quigley, the MP in the West Wight, who is also doing his best to make the government aware of the issues. The only downside is that I fear that only those who are affected will take notice of what he says. The green benches around Mr. Robertson were sadly almost empty. Will this government do the same as previous ones and simply ignore our plight?
Newtown never fails to surprise, said Ken Abernethy, a retired harbour master of Newtown. Very many years ago, when I moved to the island to become the harbour master of Newtown, the going concern was rabies being brought in on European yachts. A young Mike Bushell, now of TV sports fame, came to see me to report on the matter. That was followed by the Great Storm of 1987, which caused incredible damage to the nature reserve. We were always kept busy. Joanna Lumley came to promote the Frogmat oil spill to absorb oil. Princess Anne visited in her yacht with husband Tim. Paul Heaney and family arrived on the tall ship Grace O'Malley. Cliff Micklemore and Jean Metcalf came to do a Down Your Way presentation, followed by John Craven doing a presentation on wildlife. My feet hardly touched the ground. Now we have the resurgent spider. Newtown never fails.
Is opportunity really for all? From Peter Shreve, Carisbrooke Assistant District Secretary, National Education Union. Dear Editor, I'd like to comment on the government's curriculum assessment review published this week. The phrase "for all" appears 56 times in the report. It follows phrases like ambitious entitlement, aspirations, life, chances and standards. We welcome the focus on "for all", especially better preparation with regard to oracy, critical thinking and digital literacy. However, keeping statutory primary school tests means forcing schools to teach to the test, creating unnecessary stress for pupils. It steals teaching time. It fails to provide reliable or useful information about children's learning. Indeed, the review considers rote learning of grammar, such as fronted adverbials, and counterproductive. The introduction of the more academic EBAC subjects squeeze the more practical arts out of the schools. No longer will the arts be the preserve of a privileged few. However, it will take time to find and train art teachers if the arts are to recover the island appeal they had when I first arrived. We know subject content is overloaded. The review recommends teachers help test and design new subject content. Perhaps more importantly, content must take into consideration the curriculum time that it is available, ensuring the national curriculum is ambitious but teachable within a typical school timetable. We look forward to fewer rush lessons and better subject understanding for all. Poverty is the central barrier to improving education outcomes. Children are growing up in poverty. Schools are struggling too. A July Island Schools Forum paper shows 30 out of 38 schools will be in deficit in this school year 2025 to 26. Government needs to act if they are genuinely serious about unleashing opportunities and supporting this view to succeed.
John Baldry of Ventnor is baffled by the human rights decision. A copy of a letter sent to Isle of Wight East MP Joe Robertson. I was appalled to read that you backed the bill to withdraw from the European Convention on Human Rights, the ECHR. Does this mean that you agree that it is acceptable to torture people? The ECHR was created after the Second World War with the backing of the mighty Winston Churchill, a Conservative, and is now trying to be dismantled by Nigel Farage. As my representative in Parliament, I am baffled by your decision to vote in this way. In my opinion, you should put an article in the county press to explain your reasons for voting in this way. The county press asked Mr Robertson if he would like to respond, and his reply is as follows. The European ECHR was created in a very different world to today. The UK is and always has been a world leader in protecting liberties for the individual and for minority groups. We do not need a European court or European judges to tell us how to do that. We now live in a world with a more mobile population and global people, criminal smuggling gangs, aided by modern technology, which has led to a significant increase in illegal migration, which Western Europe has struggled to deal with. Sadly, the ECHR, coupled with Tony Blair's 1998 Human Rights Act, is acting as a significant drag, and in some cases a bar to being able to deport people who have come here illegally, and some of whom have gone on to commit terrible crimes. A point also made by former Labour Home Secretaries David Blunkett and Jack Straw. The ECHR is being used in the court system in a way that was never intended and against our national interest. Laws often need updating and adapting to meet modern challenges, but the ECHR is an inflexible international treaty which affects our law and cannot be amended by an Act of Parliament. Sadly, I am therefore of the view that withdrawing from the ECHR is now in the best interests of the UK, and that is why I voted in favour of a backbench bill.
And that is the end of this week's Talking News. So it's goodbye from Susan.
And it's goodbye from Jerry. The BBC In Touch programme follows, and the scaffolding news follows that.
Sight for White newsletter, Autumn 2025. Your local sight loss charity. Meet the new CEO. Spotlight on Carol. 50 years of talking news. Meet volunteer Helen. Hydrate to feel great. Terry's 10 teasers. Dress for less, plus much more. Front cover shows a photograph of our CEO, JD.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our Autumn Newsletter 2025, and a special welcome to our new CEO, JD, which is the short way of saying James Danny. I know that many of you have met him already. As usual, this issue is packed with news and information, and I'm sure you will find much to interest you. Our staff provide such support and advice, and I always learn something new from their reports. I know that you will be welcomed by them when joining any of our many activities or making a request for help. For example, setting up the Be My Eyes Ray-Ban Meta glasses or new mobiles. The support and advice is always there. And don't forget to visit Dress for Less. The shop is full of lovely clothes, and you can find just the right shoes, handbag or hat to complete your outfit. Debbie and her team are always there to help and advise. We have been celebrating 50 years of the Talking News, and what an invaluable contribution it has made. And I would like to thank all those who've been instrumental in providing such a valued service for so many years, especially Terry, who has been involved from the very beginning. Also, check out the travel cards for assistance dogs, discount on vehicle tax, and advice on the most recent scams. The Meet a Volunteer and Member articles illustrate such interesting lives, and I hope you managed to get your story in for this year's short story writing competition, as the deadline was the 31st of October. We now look forward to the award ceremony in December. As always, my grateful thanks to all our dedicated staff at Millbrook House and Dress for Less, and to our wonderful volunteers. They all make the charity so special. Thank you.
Page 3. Contents. Contents. Chair Report. Page 2. CEO Update. Page 4. Member Activities and Festive Information. Page 5 to 7. Scams. Page 8. Deaf Blind Officer. Page 9. Be My Eyes Ray-Ban Meta Glasses. Pages 10 to 11. Age UK Digital Drop-In Dates. Pages 12 to 13. Karen's Vision Update. Pages 14 to 15. Hydrate to Feel Great. Pages 16 to 18. Vehicle Tax Discount for VI. Page 19. Double Celebration at Mix and Mingle. Pages 20 to 21. Assistant Dog Under Seat Card. pages 22 to 23. Volunteer update, page 24. Hearing officer, page 25. Meet volunteer Helen, pages 26 to 27. Meet member Carol, pages 28 to 29. Meet CEO JD, pages 30 to 33. Apprentice VRS, pages 34 to 35. 50 Years of Talking News, pages 36 to 39. Short Story Writing Award Ceremony, pages 40 to 41. 100 Club and Christmas Cards, page 42. Calendars, page 43. IT Information for Members, page 44. Dress for Less, page 45. Education Update, page 46. Terry's 10 Teasers, Answers, Contact Info, pages 47 to 48.
Hello everyone. It's been another full and rewarding month at Sight for White, filled with opportunities to meet and connect with leaders from across the UK who share the same passion for supporting people with sight loss. These conversations have been invaluable in deepening our understanding of what our community needs and in exploring new ways to work together for the benefit of the visually impaired individuals across the island. Within our own team, there's been a real sense of steady progress and shared purpose. We continue to strengthen how we work, ensuring that everything we do remains focused on what matters most, keeping our services welcoming, accessible, and responsive to those who rely on them. I've also been meeting with local partners and community groups to explore how we can collaborate more closely and extend our reach across the island. There is such goodwill and enthusiasm in our community, and I truly believe that by working together, we can achieve even greater things for the people we serve. As we move further into the autumn months, I want to share a heartfelt thank you to our staff, trustees, volunteers and members for the positivity and dedication they bring every single day. It's their care, compassion and commitment that keep this charity strong and moving forward. JD, CEO.
Member activities. Weekly. By appointment. We have Sam on hand to give one-to-one help with accessibility features on your computer, laptop, tablet or phone. It is essential you pre-book, so please call ahead.
Monday, swimming at Medina Leisure Centre, Newport. Term time only, between 1:15 p.m. and 2 p.m. Cost is £6. Limited transport is available.
Tuesday, yoga at Millbrook House between 1:45 p.m. and 2:45 p.m. Come along and try gentle yoga. Just £4, which includes refreshments. Call the office to book a space.
Wednesday, coffee and chat at Millbrook House between 10 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. All are very welcome to join us for coffee and cake. The cost is £2 and the group is open to everyone. We have regular visitors to this group, for example, the ECLO, the Macular Society and many others.
Thursday, mix and mingle at Millbrook House between 10:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. Planned activities include crafts, quizzes and entertainment. The cost is £4 plus £3.50 for transport if required. The group has a waiting list, so please call to put your name down if you're interested in joining.
Fortnightly tennis is held at Ride Me Tennis Club on a Monday between 9:30 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. Volunteers of the club are on hand to assist. This is weather dependent.
Monthly groups. First Tuesday of the month, God's Hill Coffee Morning, 10:30am to 12pm, held at the Old Smithy Coffee Shop, God's Hill. Volunteers Yvonne and Linda will be on hand to chat.
First Thursday of the month, audio book group held at Lord Louis Library, Newport, between 2pm and 3pm. This group is free to attend. You will receive a digital copy, USB stick or CD, and the group will discuss the book at the following meeting.
Last Friday of the month, Striders is for members who enjoy walking. The walk is normally between 4 and 6 miles depending on the route and location. The cost is £4 plus £3.50 for transport. The group always enjoys lunch in a local pub and is a great social event.
Last Sunday of the month, golf at Westridge Golf Centre ride. Members enjoy 45 minutes with a professional instructor available to help with the complete novice. To those playing regularly, it is usually the last Sunday of the month, but always call the office to confirm.
Tandem bike sessions are now held on a regular basis. Our pilots and members have been enjoying trips out, mainly along the cycle track. If you would like to have a go and you haven't, let the office know. Please call and put your name on the list. This is a fantastic opportunity for anyone who enjoys riding a bike and fresh air. This will be weather dependent through the winter months.
Ion Social is our afternoon group held on the second Wednesday of the month. This group is open to everyone, members, volunteers and friends, and is a thoroughly enjoyable afternoon, always finishing with tea and cake. For more information and to reserve your place, please call Susan on 522205.
Christmas raffle. This is a reminder to send your raffle tickets back before December the 8th. We have more available if you require further books. We have some great prizes and it is our main fundraiser of the year, so please support the charity.
Festive morning. You are all very welcome to come along on December the 10th to Millbrook House between 10:30am and 12:30pm, where we will be drawing the raffle and enjoying festive refreshments. This is open to everyone, members, volunteers, friends and family. You will be made very welcome.
Scams. Trading Standards would like to warn you about some of the most recent scams that have affected Ireland residents. Phone call claiming to be from EE, trying to find out information about your account. Unsolicited calls are likely to be a scam. You can verify this by calling your provider to check if it's genuine. Text claiming to be from DWP, pressuring you into making a claim for winter heating allowance. This will ask you to click on the link and state that if you don't follow the instructions, you will be ineligible for the benefit. This is a scam. This payment will be automatic. Do not click on the link in texts and emails. Emails claiming to be from the DVLA, stating that your car doesn't carry valid tax and requesting that you click on the link to make a payment. This is a scam, and if you check the sender's email address, you can see that it isn't a valid gov.uk address. Victims have received threatening messages claiming their devices have been compromised using spyware such as Pegasus, and that compromising videos will be shared unless a cryptocurrency ransom is paid. These messages are fraudulent and designed to cause panic and extort money. They often include aggressive language, false claims of device access, and threats to share fabricated content with contacts. Do not engage with the sender and never send money. Forward the email to report@phishing.gov.uk.
Deaf Blind Support Officer. English National Concessionary Travel Scheme. Do you have access to the local bus service? If you are registered as sight impaired or severely sight impaired, you are eligible for a concessionary bus pass. Unlike the bus pass given for senior citizens, you can use the concessionary bus pass before 9:30 a.m. Application forms are available from the Isle of Wight Council website or White Sense. You will require clarification of your registration, and White Sense will be able to help you with this. If you are not able to use the bus by yourself and require support to do so, you may also be eligible for a companion pass. Again, the application form is available from the Isle of Wight Council or White Sense. Please contact the Sensory Service if you require help with this. Karen, Deafblind Assessor.
Be My Eyes, Ray-Ban Meta Glasses, an article from Be My Eyes. On November the 13th, 2024, Be My Eyes Ray-Ban Meta Glasses rolled out. Connect with volunteers hands-free. With the new integration, Be My Eyes users can now call a sighted volunteer using just their voice. Simply say, "Hey Meta, be my eyes," and you'll be connected to one of our 8.1 million global volunteers. The volunteer will view your surroundings through the camera on the glasses and be able to answer your questions and provide real-time descriptions through the open-ear speakers, whether it's identifying items on a shelf, navigating busy public spaces, or following a recipe, all while your hands remain free. Getting started is quick and easy. If you already own Ray-Ban Meta Glasses, check that they are updated to the latest software release in order to access Be My Eyes. Need help setting up? We've prepared a comprehensive setup guide, including an audio walkthrough, so you can get the most out of these hands-free experience. Just visit the Be My Eyes website for a step-by-step guide to configuring the glasses, or our dedicated product page for additional information about Be My Eyes and Ray-Ban Meta Glasses. Don't have Ray-Ban glasses yet? Experience the future of accessibility by purchasing Ray-Ban Meta Glasses at selected retail stores or online through the Ray-Ban official store. We're thrilled to bring the new level of accessibility to our community and really look forward to your feedback as we continue to innovate together with Meta.
Social media. For anyone that uses the internet and enjoys social media, please follow us on Facebook and Instagram as we update daily with news, information and events, site related, and also everything that's going on at Millbrook House, including activities and society news.
Age UK Digital Drop-In Sessions. Help with your technology, made easy and enjoyable through our welcoming community drop-in sessions. Ride Library, the second and fourth Wednesday every month, 10:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. 101 George Street Ride, PO332JE. Newport Library, second and fourth Thursday every month, 10:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Orchard Street, Newport, PO301LL. Parkland Centre, Cowes, second Friday every month, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Park Road, Cowes, PO317LZ. John Cheverton Centre, second Friday every month, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Holbury Lane, Newport, PO302ER. Tower House, only for Tower House patients, the second Friday every month, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Rink Road Ride, PO331LP. St Helens Community Centre, second Wednesday of every month, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Guildford Road, St Helens Ride, PO331UH. Call 01983 525282 or email info@ageukiw.org.uk or visit www.ageukiw.org.uk. www.bbc.org.uk.
Karen's Vision Update. I was listening to the radio recently and they had a professor on from the University of California. The discussion was about how snails could, in the future, restore eyesight. Apparently they have, with this study, made lightning speed discoveries that they hope will lead to a breakthrough that could enable eyesight lost to be restored. I found this fascinating and wanted to share. The Power of Nature. Article from Science News. The golden apple snail has powerful regenerative abilities and its eyes share many anatomical features with ours. The golden apple snail is a freshwater species with the remarkable ability to regrow an entire eye, promoting scientists to ask whether it could, one day, inspire better treatments for sight loss. A study published in Nature Communications has, for the first time, revealed apple snails and human eyes share many anatomical features. A team led by Alice Accorsi, a biologist at the University of California, found that the snail's eyes, like ours, have a camera-like structure with a lens, a retina and an optic nerve. Crucially, they also appear to use many of the same genes thought to be responsible for eye development in humans. When Accorsi snipped off a snail's eye, the eye grew back in just under a month, but it probably took about 3 months for the new eye to fully integrate with the brain to restore full vision. Sanchez Alfacado says, humans don't regrow damaged eye parts and certainly not a whole eye. Even a transplanted eye has not yet successfully wired into a recipient's brain. Discovering the basis of eye regeneration in snails won't lead to immediate cures for people, says Henry Klassen, an ophthalmologist and stem cell researcher at the University of California. Irvine, who wasn't involved in the work, but knowing that there is a possibility to regenerate eyes, can be like a beacon of light, he says. You can at least start asking questions like, where's the hang-up? How far along the similar path do things go in humans? And what genes, for instance, intervene or have been added to suppress regeneration or fail to respond. Snails have other genes known to be important in human eye development. The secret to regenerating eyes is probably in the molecular switches that control when those genes are active, the researchers say. It's possible that humans already have the same switches and researchers would just need to activate them at the right time and place to regenerate eyes, Accorsi says. Or regeneration may be controlled by a switch or switches that snails have and humans don't. Karen, member support, pictures showing apple snail.
Hydrate to feel great. Hydrate to Feel Great is a 4-week hydration plan which has been developed to help older people to drink more. This resource isn't suitable for everyone. For example, anyone using a catheter or a fluid-restricted diet. Its use should be under the guidance of a healthcare professional. Please let your healthcare professional know if your health changes. Why focus on hydration in over 65s? As we get older, our sense of thirst becomes less reliable. Use of medications such as diuretics and laxatives can increase fluid losses. Changes that occur as we age increase the risk of dehydration, which in turn increases the risk of UTIs. People over 65 suffer more serious consequences of UTIs and are more likely to require antibiotics. People over 65 make up the majority of UTI-related hospital admissions. How will Hydrate to Feel Great help me? This information summarises the benefits of good hydration and the risks associated with poor hydration. They are a guide to help you work out what you are drinking currently and a 4-week drinks diary so you can log your fluid intake while you complete the plan. Does Hydrate to Feel Great actually help people to drink more? 467 people have trialled the Hydrate to Feel Great plan. 71% of people were drinking more by the end of the plan. 9 out of 10 is how people rated the experience.
Why is hydration important? Our bodies use water for almost everything, from digesting food to keeping our joints supple and our minds sharp. Just like we care for our plants and pets, we need to care for ourselves by keeping our bodies topped up with water. In the same way, you wouldn't let your plants dry out and drop their leaves. It's important you stay hydrated yourself. Don't wait until you're wilting before you have a drink. How much should I drink? As a rough guide, we should be having 6 to 8 drinks a day to keep our bodies and minds working at their best, unless you've been advised differently by your doctor. 6 to 8 drinks a day is roughly 2 litres or 3.5 pints. When you're doing more activity than normal, or if the weather is hot, it's a good idea to add extra drinks or alternatives such as ice lollies. Hydration doesn't just mean drinking water.
What does 2 litres look like? 2 litres may sound like a lot, but when you break it down, it quickly adds up. Here's an example of how a typical day might look. Milk on your cereal, 150 millilitres. Breakfast cup of coffee, 150 millilitres. A handful of cucumber slices, 100 millilitres. Fruit juice with lunch, 200 millilitres. Half pint glasses of water, 570 millilitres. 1 slice of watermelon, 80 millilitres. 3 mugs of tea during the day, 750 millilitres. 2 litres is equal to 3.5 pints. 8 benefits of good hydration. Cushions joints. Fuels muscles. Removes toxins. Feel less tired. Improve decision making. Helps with conditions such as diabetes. Fights off infection. Enhances metabolism.
Can you get a discount on vehicle tax if you are visually impaired? Member question. Although you can drive with some sight conditions, such as monocular vision, the majority of people with sight loss don't drive. However, you can still claim a reduction if you have a nominated driver, if the vehicle is registered in your name or that of your nominated driver. You do not have to pay vehicle tax if you get one of these benefits. High rate mobility component of disability living allowance, enhanced rate mobility component of personal independence payment, enhanced rate mobility component of adult disability payment, high rate mobility component of child disability payment, War Pensions Mobility Supplement, and Armed Forces Independent Payment. You need to apply to be registered, as not having to pay vehicle tax, you can't just stop paying it. You can find information on how to apply on the Gov.uk website. You can get 50% off your vehicle tax if you get one of these benefits: standard rate mobility component of personal independence payments and standard rate mobility component of adult disability payment.
A double celebration at Mix and Mingle. On Thursday the 18th of September, the Mix and Mingle group enjoyed a fish and chip treat from member and author Anna Southwell. Earlier this year, Anna published the 3rd book in her Oliver Gruffle Secrets of Harmony Haven series, Sizzle Squirrel's Big Adventure, written for ages 5 to 9 but loved by adults too. It quickly gained 5-star ratings and was eagerly shared by supportive friends at Mix and Mingle, who then sent it to their families across the world. However, celebrations were delayed after Anna suffered a serious stroke at Christmas, leaving her severely sight impaired. Heartbreaking news for someone who loved writing and dancing. Despite these challenges, Anna surprised her friends with 3 copies of her republished first book, The Runaways, released on the 28th September 2025. Now working with experienced publishers, Troubadour, she is looking forward to the 4th book publication, followed by a reissue of The Scarab King. With 8 more books in the series already written, Anna remains determined and optimistic. Her sense of humour shone through when she joked about writing autobiographies of club members, an idea that sparked lively reactions. It is such a thrill writing these stories and holding the finished book, Anna shared. I shed a tear every time. It is such a precious moment. Friends say her book reflects her generous spirit, written with love for her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Anna also finds joy in giving back as a tree is planted through her publisher's More Trees scheme, and she supports charities like Guide Dogs and local Isle of Wight causes. She recently received encouragement from JD, the new CEO of Sight for Wight, who read The Sizzle Squirrel's Big Adventure. Anna praised him warmly, adding with humour that the ladies in the group seemed particularly taken with him. The celebration was rounded off with delicious desserts, courtesy of Susan, the group's volunteer and members manager. Anna laughed as she recalled a recent County Press interview where her feature appeared alongside TV presenter Tess Daly. She looked stunning, and there was me with no decent photo. Tess's picture will be treasured, mine will end up as fish and chip paper, she joked. Anna's resilience, humour and generosity continue to inspire her, friends and readers alike. She sends love and best wishes to you all.
Assistance Dog Under Seat Card. An Assistance Dog Under Seat card is a visible card for rail passengers with assistance dogs to place on a seat, letting others know the space under it is reserved for their dog. It's part of the Assistance Dog Travel Scheme developed by National Rail and various train companies to improve travel experiences by creating awareness and a protected space for the dog. You can apply for a free card from your local train company or National Rail's Passenger Assist team. What the card does: creates awareness. It lets other customers know that the seat and the space underneath are needed for your assistance dog. Provides a protective space. This helps ensure your dog has the space to lie down and rest comfortably, preventing them from being stepped on or disrupted. Facilitates travel. The card makes train travel easier and more comfortable for both the assistance dog and its handler. How to use the card. Slot it into the reservation holder. If available, the card slots into the standard reservation holder on the seat in front of you. Place it on the seat. You can also place the card directly on the seat next to your own or on the tray table. Educates others. The card explains: this is my working assistance dog. The space under this seat should be kept free for the dog to rest, according to Greater Anglia. How to get your card. Contact National Rail. You can email National Rail Customer Relations or contact their Passenger Assist team. Contact your local train company. Many train companies offer a scheme such as Greater Anglia or South Western Railway where you can request a free card. Use the Passenger Assist service. When you book assistance for your journey through Passenger Assist, you can also arrange to receive an Assistance Dog Under Seat card.
Volunteer update. I would like to welcome all our new volunteers to this newsletter. We are very fortunate to have so many volunteers who enable us to support our members through activities, services, events and our Dress for Less shop. Although August is always shut down for groups, our volunteers are still kept busy with the Talking News, audio library, in our shop and our fundraising team, who helped in the tea tent this year at Chale Show. Thank you everyone for your time, help and support. It is very much appreciated by us all. It was lovely to catch up with some of you at our recent Volunteers Catch-Up here at Millbrook House. We were so lucky with the beautiful weather and a pleasure to enjoy time in our garden chatting over cake. As we approach the winter months and Christmas, we would welcome anyone who can or knows anyone who knits for our Christmas campaign. Keep a lookout across the island for our knitted novelties for sale. As always, thank you everyone. I really appreciate your support, and without you I could not do my role on a daily basis here at Sight for Wight. Merry Christmas and a very happy and peaceful New Year. Susan, Volunteers and Members Manager.
Hearing officer. Age-related hearing loss, presbycusis, is the most common cause of hearing loss in the UK, so I thought I would investigate what we can do to help protect our hearing as we age. It is not possible to completely prevent the onset of presbycusis, but perhaps if we protect our hearing at a younger age, then it is possible to maintain a level of hearing within normal ranges for longer. The short answer is yes. There are some simple steps that can be taken to mitigate the onset of presbycusis. 1. When listening to music, especially if using headphones or earbuds, don't be tempted to turn the volume up to a level that could potentially be harmful. Stay at no more than 60% of the total volume of the device. Extended exposure to high volume of sound will over time cause hearing loss. 2. Ensure that if you have a medical condition that could impact your hearing, such as high blood pressure, then check that it's being appropriately treated. 3. If you are a smoker, consider giving up, as this can impact the circulation of blood to the inner ear and lead to hearing loss. 4. Don't use cotton buds to clean out your ears. 5. Have regular hearing checks. This could identify early onset hearing loss and any earwax blockage. Hearing checks are something you may have to pay for. However, if a hearing loss is detected, then a referral can be made to the NHS via your GP for further investigation. Paula's hearing officer, article read by Jasmine.
Meet volunteer Helen. Hi, my name is Helen Bridges, and I've been a volunteer with Sight for Wight for the past 9 years. I was born on the Isle of Wight at Limerston and attended Shirwell School from the ages of 5 to 11. I passed my 11 plus and went to Carisbrooke Grammar School. I decided early on that I wanted to be a teacher, and after A-levels went to Avery Hill College of Education in Eltham, South East London. I studied geography and maths as main subjects. I loved geography but was good at maths, and I knew it would always be a shortage subject. After college, I hoped to get a job on the island, but in the 1970s that was not easy for a newly qualified teacher, so I spent a year working as a catering assistant at Whitecroft and a year as a data processing assistant at Marex. This was an interesting job as Marex prepared weather reports for the oil industry, which was used in the construction of North Sea oil and gas platforms. The designers had to make sure that the rigs would withstand the 100-year wave height and 100-year wind speed, and we used weather data to predict this. In 1980, I decided that I had to leave the island to get into teaching, so moved back to Sidcup, which was near where I went to college. Living on the edge of London meant there was always places to go and things to do. I particularly enjoyed people watching at Covent Garden and getting last-minute tickets for West End shows. I taught geography and then maths. In 1989, I returned to the island and taught maths up to A-level at Cowes High School, later Enterprise College. In 1996, when I was 40, I decided as a challenge that I would pass my motorcycle test. I enjoyed riding a motorbike on the island and mainland, though wished other drivers were more considerate. My partner Chris and I had many holidays in Europe on his motorbike. La Rochelle was a particular favourite. In 2016, I decided it was time to retire. People said don't commit to anything in the first 6 months, as everyone will think you have time on your hands for volunteering. Susan at Sight for Wight asked my sister and I to help at Volunteers' Tea Party at Millbrook House, so the volunteers didn't have to serve themselves. I found several old friends amongst the volunteers and was obviously encouraged to help. I would describe myself as more likely to be in the kitchen at parties rather than the party animal, so I have helped behind the scenes preparing the county press for Talking News. I also knit for Easter and Christmas and helped on the charity stall at Wolverton and at the Isle of Wight Festival. I also volunteer for Walk the Wight and am secretary for Bryston Village Museum. I continue to work with youngsters, listening to readers at Bryston School and tutoring maths students. After all, maths teachers are an endangered species. I enjoy spending time with my family, reading, knitting and walking. I like going to live music events and the theatre. I have been a fan of Rod Stewart since Maggie May in the early 70s, and I also like Bruce Springsteen and Runrig, a Scottish band I first saw supporting Chris de Burgh. Helen, volunteer.
Meet member Carol. I was born in Shawford Park, Hampshire, during the war. My mum had been living in London and my dad was in the army, but after a bomb fell in our street, we were evacuated. We returned to London when I was 3 weeks old, just as the Blitz began. I grew up in Walthamstow, where our family didn't have much money, but we had plenty of love. For a time, I was an only child, but after the war, I suddenly became the eldest of 5 in next to no time. My childhood playground was the street market, filled with colourful characters. At just 9 years old, I had my first job, keeping watch for policemen while market spivs sold goods from suitcases. For my efforts, I earned 2 shillings. I wasn't academic and failed my 11 plus twice, ending up at William McGuffey, known as Scruffy McGuffey, as our senior school was known. I left at 15, worked briefly as an office junior, and was soon let go for chatting too much. At 16, I married a much older man after becoming pregnant. Though the marriage wasn't a happy one, it gave me 5 wonderful children. Wanting a better life, I trained as a nurse in the mid-1960s and found my calling in caring for others. Life took many turns. After divorcing, I worked at an American garage in Wembley, meeting celebrities such as Diana Dawes, Bob Monkhouse and Cliff Richard, to name but a few, as well as notorious gangsters. Later, I returned as a clinical coordinator at a flagship oncology unit in Harrow, where I thrived both professionally and personally. My second marriage was happy for a time, but sadly ended in the mid-1980s. Eventually, I decided to start afresh on the Isle of Wight, where I had enjoyed holidays in my younger days. With no jobs, friends or family nearby, I began again as a care assistant in Ryde, eventually working my way up to deputy manager. But when I was a grandmother and later a great-grandmother, enjoying the blessings of a large family. In more recent years, my health has presented new challenges. My eyesight began to deteriorate and I was diagnosed with age-related macular degeneration. At first it was difficult to adjust, especially when combined with losses in my personal life, but then in early 2024, Sight for Wight reached out and invited me to a mix and mingle group. I was hesitant at first, still grieving and unsure if it was for me, but after a couple of visits I discovered just how much joy and companionship the group could bring. Now I look forward to it every week. I've made wonderful friends and we often meet outside the group to share stories and laughter. My interests these days are simple but meaningful, meeting friends, having a laugh and staying socially connected. Sight for Wight has given me a new lease of life. It has reminded me that laughter is vital for well-being and that growing older is a true blessing. Carol, a member.
It has been a real privilege to step into the role of Chief Executive Officer here at Sight for Wight. Since joining the charity this summer, I've had the opportunity to meet many of our members, volunteers and supporters, and I can honestly say that the warmth, dedication and sense of community surrounding Sight for Wight are truly special. For those who do not know me yet, my name is James Danny, often known as JD. I have lived and worked on the Isle of Wight for over 10 years, with a background in leadership, film and event industries, as well as charity development. Before joining Sight for Wight, I helped lead and developed several community projects focused on inclusion and skills development. My approach to leadership is very people's focused. I believe that listening, learning, and working together are the best ways to build something lasting. Sight for Wight has an extraordinary story. For over 160 years, this organisation has stood beside people living with sight loss on the Isle of Wight, offering guidance, companionship, and opportunities to stay connected. Over the past few months, I've spent time learning how each part of the charity operates, from our member services and volunteer network to our activities, fundraising, and communications. As your new CEO, my goal is to protect the things that make Sight for Wight special, while helping us to grow stronger for the future. That means modernising where we can, improving accessibility and ensuring we have the right resources and partnerships to continue making a difference for generations to come. We are already exploring opportunities to develop new ways to reach people who may not yet know what we can offer. Collaboration will be at the heart of all we do, not just within our charity, but across the wider community. Our staff and volunteers are at the heart of what we do. They are often the first friendly voice or welcoming face that people encounter when they reach out to us. I want to ensure that our team continues to feel supported, valued, and empowered to do what they do best. We are reviewing how we deliver our services so that every person who contacts Sight for White receives the right help at the right time. That includes practical support, social activities, and opportunities to connect with others who understand the challenges of living with sight loss. At the same time, we're working to make Millbrook House as welcoming and accessible as possible. There are plans to refresh some of our spaces and create a more flexible area for group activities, workshops and community gatherings. A strong charity depends on strong community support. Fundraising will continue to play an important part in sustaining our work, from coffee mornings and seasonal fairs to creative awareness events. Every contribution helps us continue providing vital services, keeping our doors open and our mission alive. Taking on this role has been both humbling and inspiring. Every day I'm reminded that Sight for White is more than just a charity. It's a family of people who care deeply about one another. My own journey has always been guided by a belief in creativity, community, and working together for good. I bring that same belief to Sight for White, to open new doors for those that we support, while never losing sight of the personal touch that makes this organisation so loved. I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to everyone who has made me feel so welcome, to our staff team, volunteers, trustees and members. Thank you for trusting me to lead this incredible charity into its next chapter. With your continued support, I am confident that the next 160 years of Sight for White will be as bright and inspiring as the last.
What is the Deafblind Manual? The Deafblind Manual is a form of communication using your sense of touch. It is used by people who have a visual impairment alongside a hearing impairment. This is similar to British Sign Language, but instead of using your own hands to sign with, you would perform the alphabet onto somebody else's hand so they can feel the letters. The manual is used by spelling letters onto their hands. There are no other types of sign used. Once you have learnt the manual alphabet, you should then be able to have conversations with someone else who uses this form of communication. It is useful for family members and friends of the person who are visually and hearing impaired to learn this too, to help them to communicate so they don't feel isolated. We would like to introduce a social group at Millbrook House for people who already know or would like to learn the Deafblind Manual. I can also visit houses if there is someone who would prefer to learn at home. If you would like to learn the manual, please get in contact with the White Sense team at Millbrook House 01983 240 222 or email info@whitesense.org.uk. Emma. Cataracts. What is cataracts? Cataracts is an eye condition which affects the lens of the eye, causing cloudy, misty vision to occur. It is often misconceived as a layer of film upon the surface of the eye. However, the lens is actually located inside the eyeball, behind the pupil. For most people, this is a normal part of the aging process. All people at the age of 65 have at least some degree of cataract. This usually affects both eyes at the same time. However, the progression rate can vary between each eye. What are the symptoms of cataracts? Impaired distance vision, blurred vision that does not change when blinking, poor night vision, glare, double vision in one eye. You may often need frequent new prescriptions. Treatment for cataracts. Cataracts is a treatable eye condition which is an operation which involves replacing the current lens with an artificial plastic lens. This will restore your longer distance vision and help your clarity. The operation usually takes between 20 to 45 minutes. This does not involve any stitches and recovery is quick. You'll be given drops to administer for 4 weeks. What if my cataracts are inoperable? In some cases, doctors may not advise the operation, in which case White Sense are able to come out to your own home where we would do an assessment with you to see if we can offer support, advice and any equipment for you to help you in your day-to-day life. To request an assessment, please email info@whitesense.org.uk or call us on 01983 240 222. For any more advice on cataracts and a step-by-step guide to what the operation involves, please visit www.nhs.uk/tests-and-treatments/cataract-surgery. Emma Rehabilitation.
50 years of talking news. For almost half a century, the Talking County Press has brought local news to blind and visually impaired islanders. A story that began with one man's bright idea and continues today with digital technology and dedicated volunteers.
The idea came from Geoffrey Smith, a blind man from Knighton who believed the Isle of Wight County Press should be accessible to everyone. In early 1975, he shared his suggestion with retired bank manager Royce Polk, who took it to the Isle of Wight Society for the Blind.
Director Noreen Taylor and her deputy, Jack Adamson, loved the concept and soon found strong support from the community. Over 60 clients expressed interest straight away. A small committee was formed to turn the idea into reality, including Jack, Royce, Fred Hodgson, Terry Mitchell, John Primmer from the Hospital Broadcasting Association and Martin Smith.
The group decided to record and duplicate cassette tapes in-house at the Society's HQ in Wallace Court, Newport. They purchased top-of-the-line equipment, a Ferrograph tape recorder, microphones and a Telex cassette duplicator, and enough cassette players for all their listeners. A small studio was created from 2 walk-in cupboards divided by a double-glazed window. One side held the recording gear, the other held microphones and chairs. It was a tight squeeze, but it worked.
When Lord Louis Mountbatten, the island's governor, agreed to record an introduction for the first edition, excitement soared. His message arrived just in time for the launch in August 1975.
The first Talking County Press was read by volunteers Francis Daines, Fred and Kathy Hodgson, John Primmer, Royce Polk, Noreen and Bob Taylor, and Jack Adamson. About 100 listeners received that first recording, with the master tape duplicated on Sunday and mailed Monday morning.
Through the late 1970s and 1980s, the routine rang like clockwork. The county press was collected early on Friday, recorded that day and duplicated over the weekend. Despite the occasional technical hiccup, tangled tape, slipping bouts or a broken duplicator, the team never missed an edition.
By the 1990s, listener numbers had grown to more than 450. A new duplicator in 1990 could copy 11 cassettes at a time, making the process faster and smoother. Martin Smith added short music tracks to open and close each edition, giving the recordings a more polished feel. The system ran efficiently for years thanks to dozens of dedicated volunteers who read, recorded, copied and packed the tapes each week.
In 2006, the Society for the Blind moved from Wallace Court to Millbrook House in Carisbrooke Road. With more space and a growing audience, the Talking County Press moved from fortnightly to weekly editions at the reader's request.
More volunteers joined the team, around 20 readers, 4 editors, 4 recorders and 4 duplicators. The following year, lottery funding allowed the Society to upgrade to digital recording equipment. Sound quality improved and volunteers learned valuable new skills that would soon become essential.
By 2009, cassette duplicators were wearing out and spare parts were no longer available. Compact discs were considered but quickly ruled out as too expensive. The team needed a modern, affordable alternative.
The answer came in the form of USB memory sticks. These small, reusable devices could store hours of digital audio in clear MP3 quality. After visiting Portsmouth Society for the Blind, which had already adopted the system, the team launched a fundraising campaign in December 2009 to buy 600 memory sticks, 300 boombox players and a digital duplicator.
Islanders responded generously, and by Christmas everything was ready. On New Year's Eve 2009, the first memory stick edition of the Talking County Press was sent out. Listeners loved the clearer sound and the ability to skip between stories, though a few missed their trusty old cassette players.
When the first COVID lockdown hit in March 2020, everything stopped. Studio recordings were no longer possible, but staff member Chris Kane refused to let the news go silent. Working with Kelvin and Maggie Curry at Vectis Radio, Chris helped create a new format, a 45-minute talking news programme broadcast on Vectis Radio every Saturday afternoon and Tuesday evening.
Volunteer news selector Susan Early gathered stories each week, while a panel of readers recorded their pieces at home using mobile phones. Chris edited the recordings and uploaded them for broadcast. The Sight for White website, Facebook, Twitter, and eventually through Alexa smart speakers.
Listeners could now simply say, "Alexa, play Sight for White Talking News," and enjoy the week's island stories.
In May 2021, after more than a year of home recording, studio sessions resumed under COVID safety guidelines. Some readings continue to be done remotely, giving listeners an even richer mix of voices, including one from much farther away. Volunteer reader Steve McDevitt, who had moved to Spain, continued recording from his new home abroad. Thanks to modern technology, his voice still reaches the Isle of Wight airwaves every week. Since the pandemic, the Talking News has expanded its range of sources. In addition to the Isle of Wight County Press, stories now come from the Isle of Wight Radio, Island Echo, Isle of Wight Observer and On the Wight.
On the 23rd of June 2023, the team celebrated its 1,500th edition, an extraordinary milestone for a volunteer-run service that began in two tiny cupboards nearly 50 years ago. As of today, they've passed edition number 1,595 and show no signs of slowing down. Every week, a small army of volunteers works behind the scenes, selecting stories, reading them aloud, recording and editing, duplicating memory sticks, maintaining the listener database, and preparing the mailbags for Friday's post. Thanks to their dedication and the ongoing support of Sight for White staff and CEOs, most listeners still receive their Talking County Press by Saturday morning, just as they did back in 1975.
From cassettes to memory sticks, from cupboards to computers, from mailbags to Alexa, the Talking County Press has evolved with the times while keeping its purpose the same, ensuring everyone can enjoy the island's news.
Short Story Writing Competition Award Ceremony 2025. It's amazing how time flies as we edge closer to the Short Story Writing Competition Award Ceremony. I am so pleased to announce that we have entertainment from Hannah, the Vintage Songbird, who has sung for us before, and Huxley Magician, who has amazed us with his magic and mirth on numerous occasions. Morris Kachuk has kindly agreed to be our Master of Ceremonies once again. As this year's theme is superhero, Spider-Man will be making a special appearance and keeping an eye out for any baddies. We will have our usual category winners, including the special Idana Minghella Award presented by Joya Minghella Giddens, an avid supporter of Sight for White and one of our patrons. You don't have to have written a story to attend our awards ceremony, so if you'd like a free night out, then please come along to the Riverside Centre on Friday the 12th of December at 7 p.m. Please let me know in advance so I can keep tabs on numbers. A huge thank you to everyone who has entered this year, and I look forward to seeing you on the night. Chris, Reception Manager. Short Story Writing Competition Awards Ceremony Poster 2025. Winners announced. 7 p.m. on Friday the 12th of December, Riverside Centre, Newport. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. Entertainment from Huxley Magician, Hannah the Vintage Songbird, and the Master of Ceremonies is Maurice Kachuk. Special appearance by Spider-Man.
100 Club. Did you know we have our own 100 Club? This is our own lottery but restricted to 100 members. Each month, entrants pay £2 for a number, with 40% prize money distributed as a single prize, and the remaining 60% going directly to support our services. This quarter's winners are Pamela, Audrey and Miriam. If you would like to join the Sight for White 100 Club, it is just £2 a month. You can pay annually or by standing order each month.
Christmas cards. It's that time again where Christmas cards are available. They are £3.50 for a pack of 10 good quality cards with envelopes.
Isle of Wight Artists Calendar 2026. Every year, Isle of Wight Artists Calendar supports a local charity, and this year they have kindly agreed Sight for Wight will be their chosen charity. Calendars are available to buy from Millbrook House at £12 each, with some amazing pictures by very talented local artists. Not only are their chosen charity, but Sight for Wight will receive £5 for every calendar sold. If you are interested in buying a calendar, then please contact Susan on 522205. These would make wonderful Christmas presents, but we have a limited stock, so please order early to ensure you don't miss out.
IT information for members. The new Meta AI smart glasses have proven to be one of the most popular items we have at Millbrook House. They have a wide range of features to help people with day-to-day life and have given many people a new sense of freedom. If you would like a demo or just want to find out more, please call the office to book an appointment. Accessible screen readers for laptops and desktop PCs. Screen readers for visually impaired and blind people have been around for a long time, but recently the two main suppliers, Dolphin and Jaws, have made some big changes to how you purchase them and how much they will cost. We spoke directly to both companies to find out exactly how it works, and they provided us with the following information. Dolphin Guide Connect, a one-time payment of £830 for a lifetime licence, followed by an optional £145 a year thereafter for the essential updates. We were advised that the update package was essential, so support can be provided for future updates. Jaws. This is a subscription-based service with no option to purchase a lifetime licence. The software and support is £420 a year, renewing every 12 months. All prices we have provided are as of September 2025 and are subject to change, so please check the latest price before purchasing. If you need any help or advice, please contact the office and ask to speak to Sam or Karen. Sam, IT Accessibility Officer.
This is Debbie from Dress for Less. I have an idea. Here we are coming to the end of another year and it's flown by. There are lots of events in the calendar leading to the end of the year. The big one is Christmas, and this is where my idea comes in, so please let me share it with you. I think this Christmas is going to be a struggle for many people. I would like to suggest that as a community we can help each other. I'm sure many of you have items in your drawers and wardrobes that you have bought and been given and not used. If you would like to bring them to Dress for Less, we can sell them for you. This means that you will make us some money for Christmas and you will also be helping us at Sight for Wight. But more important, you can help someone buy a special gift for a loved one. We are looking for items that are new with tags such as hats, gloves, scarves, slippers, bags and purses, etc. I recently put this appeal on Facebook and the response has been wonderful. I have already received some cashmere and silk scarves and I have slippers on the way. If you're reading this and think you can help, please call us at the shop for an appointment to bring your items in. Our number is 01983 523197. It's not too late to help someone and of course make some money for yourself. In my previous article, I asked if anyone was able to come and help us at Dress for Less, and I'm delighted to say that I've had 2 volunteers come forward. Angie is helping us on a Tuesday morning and Kate has started on a Thursday afternoon. I would like to welcome them both and hope they enjoy their time with us. We continue to look for further volunteers to help us at our lovely shop, so if you can spare a few hours, please call me, again on our number 01983 523197. Thank you, Debbie.
Education update. Since the last education update, it's been the summer holidays, where some of the programme was updated, ready for schools in September. We've also had some volunteer interest. In September, we went to Brading Primary to their Year 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 classes. I am currently in contact with schools to see who would like the programme next, so watch this space to find out where we will be going. As always, a very big thank you to all the volunteers who give their time to come to the schools with me. I've had lovely feedback from the schools with them saying how much they appreciate our visits and how much the children enjoy learning with us. We wouldn't get this feedback without all of you giving your time, so thank you very much. If anyone is interested in volunteering in the schools and helping me teach the children the importance of keeping your eyes healthy to reduce the risk of sight loss, then please give me a call. We could have a chat about how the programme works and talk about if you would like to come along to watch a session at the school to see if you would like to volunteer in the future.
Hello everybody. Just when you thought it was safe to enjoy yourself, I'm back. Yes, it's Terry again with another selection of tantalising teasers. Well, I hope you will enjoy finding the answers to them. It's a completely random selection this time with no pattern and no little groupings. So see how you get on. Number 1. When is the next but one leap year? Number 2. Why are these years known as leap years? Number 3. The current age for receiving a state pension is 66. Now, between which 2 birthdays will somebody born on the 29th of February qualify for their pension? Number 4. To the nearest mile, what speed is 30 kilometers per hour in miles per hour? Number 5. What is Donald Trump's current wife's name? And no, I don't mean Mrs. Trump. It might be worth a try, but no, I didn't mean that. Number 6. Who or what is a great aunt? I had one when I was a child, I remember, and she was ever so old. That might be a bit of a clue. Number 7. When is St. Andrew's Day? Number 8. Which country is St. Andrew the patron saint of? Number 9. Is the expression as blind as a bat based on fact? And number 10, the last one. When Jane was 3 years old, she was half her brother Jack's age. How old will she be when she is 3/4 of his age? I hope you like playing around with numbers. Anyway, that's it for this newsletter. Hope you enjoy them and I hope you get them all right. But anyway, it's just a bit of fun. Bye for now. And here are the answers to Terry's 10 tantalising teasers for this newsletter. Number 1, the next but one leap year will be in 2032. Number 2, because all the days following the 29th of February of that year leap on an extra day, and that is the simple reason why it's called leap year. Number 3, the people born on February the 29th on the current state pension qualification age would get one between their 16th and 17th birthdays. Honest? If you think about it, they get a birthday every 4 years, so their 16th birthday, they would actually be 64, and their 17th birthday, they'd be 68, and they qualify at the moment at 66. 30 kilometres an hour to the nearest mile per hour is actually 19. I always thought it was 20, but it's not. It's 18.6. So to the nearest mile, it's 19 miles per hour. Mrs. Trump, the current wife of Donald Trump, is called Melania. And great aunts are a sister or sister-in-law of either your grandfather or grandmother. You've probably had one, or you might know of someone who did, and that's how they came to have a great aunt. St. Andrew's Day is the 30th of November, and St. Andrew is the patron saint of Scotland. No, it is not fair or accurate to say as blind as a bat. All bats can see to some extent, and fruit bats actually have good colour vision. So that is not an accurate expression. And number 10, if Jane is half her brother's age when she's 3, that means her brother's 6, there's a 3-year gap between them. When he is 12, she will be 9. And that will be 3/4 of his age. So the answer is she will be 9 years old. Well, I hope you enjoyed them. Hope you got some of them, if not all of them, right. But mainly I hope you enjoyed having a go at them. Speak to you again soon. Bye for now.
Contact details. Sight for White. Telephone 01983 52205. Email inquiries@iwsb.org.uk. Website sightforwhite.org.uk. White Sense. Telephone 01983 240 222. Email info@whitesense.org.uk. Web whitesense.org.uk. Opening hours Monday to Friday 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Dress for Less. Telephone 01983 523 197. Email retail@iwsb.org.uk. Address 57 Pyle Street, Newport, Isle of Wight, PO30 1UL. Newsletter available in the following formats: Alexa, USB, Braille.
Hello. Are the very people for whom the guide dog movement was created being pushed to the back of the queue when it comes to being allocated a dog? For most of the public, the image of guide dogs is a clear one: a blind or almost blind person being skillfully guided round obstacles by an almost magically skillful dog. It's a powerful image. It raises money, and many blind owners would say it isn't that far from the truth. But in recent times, we've increasingly been hearing on In Touch from people who say that if you're blind, you're being given the impression that you are harder to pair with a suitable dog, and you find yourself towards the back of an already unacceptably long waiting list. Average 16 months at the moment, and that's only an average. As I say, this has been on our radar for a long time now, raised initially in a question and answer session with listeners with the then Chief Operations Officer, Peter Osborne, over 2 years ago.
We do hear this on occasions. I can find no evidence to support it. We will continue to be very aware of it. And indeed, the matching process that takes place is very much on the basis that it's more complex than someone's vision. It's someone's family situation, their work situation, the speed of which they walk, et cetera, et cetera. So their vision or someone's vision is a small part of the equation and certainly not the whole part.
So when we had the chance to raise this with Guide Dogs Chief Executive, we did. This is what Andrew Lennox said earlier this year.
As we're looking around the organisation, it looks broadly that the placements we're doing, the partnerships we're doing are broadly in line with the mix of people who are presenting to us asking for a guide dog. What is actually quite encouraging, I've actually just been sat having lunch with some of our academy team. One of them actually said to me, I'm hoping that someone on my next class is going to be someone who is totally blind to make sure I have those skills in my early stage training. The ambition is there from the team to make sure we are serving that part of our community, but we can only serve those who actually present to us. There's a bit of variation across the country, but we're broadly meeting the needs in the proportions that we're presented with. That's the bit of data we're trying to dig into next to find out, well, actually, do we have an issue with people who've got that message from somewhere that we're not helping totally blind people? Do we need to do something to actually say, no, please come and apply? We need some better data before we can kind of make any sweeping statements to say, no, there isn't an issue, or yes, there is.
So as far as that data was concerned, after waiting for a few months, we put in a request to Guide Dogs to find out what was happening about this issue, and we were told that it was being looked into, but that the work was not yet complete, and they would talk to us about it when it was. Then, just a few days ago, on its regular podcast on YouTube, Guide Dogs Life, up popped Peter Osborne with this.
It is the case, actually, that people with no functional vision do wait longer for a guide dog than other people do. But there's a whole host of reasons for that. And actually, in looking at this data, we've only really looked at the level of vision that people have as the factor here, not a whole lot of other factors that may also be influencing it.
And ever since, that's been the burning topic of conversation amongst guide dog owners, seen as the first public admission by Guide Dogs that this could really be a problem. On an online forum of owners, John Gerd was one of those who described it as a bombshell. And this is part of what he said in an email to us.
I honestly believe this amounts to, at the very least, a form of indirect discrimination. Indirect because I'm assuming it is a systems-loaded or administrative bias and not likely to be a consciously active form of discrimination. However, I'm not ruling out that there could be prejudicial assumptions about users built into the decisions of the organisation. I would very much like you to ask Guide Dogs UK about their research. In particular, I would like to know just how much longer do blind people have to wait for a dog compared to those with functional vision? What is the proportion of the respective groups both on the waiting list and in the field? I think it is essential to get a picture of the needs of the two groups, and how they use the dogs are quite different. So although I acknowledge further research is necessary to discover the mechanisms that are causing the disparity, I also believe that Guide Dogs can take steps now to rebalance their service delivery. Finally, I would like to see the association publish the research and relevant data so that an open and fair conversation can be had about how to fix this very broken system.
Which is what we intend to have now, an open and fair conversation. Listening to that is Peter Osborne, now Deputy Chief Executive Officer of Guide Dogs UK. Peter, you've looked at data collected over the past 10 years, as you said, and it appears to confirm that blind and almost blind people do wait longer to receive a guide dog. Why should this be so?
Yes, indeed. We have looked at about 10 years of data, and I should say that actually the decision we took in the early 90s has framed some of this. So in the early 90s, we removed the requirement to be registered, to demonstrate that you're registered blind. And from that point, we've actually accepted people who have a degree of functional vision, but who could benefit from a guide dog. And I'm very confident that there are many listeners who are in that position who are benefiting. We've conducted research over 10 years of data. And one of the things that's emerged, actually, is this may always have been true to some degree. We've discovered that actually people will wait on average 10 months longer if you have no functional vision. But having said that...
10 months, that's almost a year. That's a big gap, surely.
It is a large gap, but what I would say is averages are a really difficult thing because people are matched as and when a dog becomes available. What we've also discovered is that the success of partnerships for people with no vision is higher than for other groups of people. In fact, 96% of partnerships remain together for 2 years or more, whereas actually the average is at least 3% lower than that.
Isn't that a good reason for prioritising blind people in this situation? Because they do form relationships that last.
Absolutely. And indeed, that's absolutely what has been happening this year. So over half of the partnerships that we've created this year, and we've increased the number of partnerships that we've created by 15% on last year. So over half of the partnerships that we have created have been for someone who has no functional vision. This is against a third of the current waiting list who are in that category. So we are absolutely prioritising both people that have been waiting longer. So by default, we are prioritising people with no functional vision. And actually, the data that we have now suggests that over half of the matches that we've made actually are to people with no vision.
But isn't it extremely embarrassing that this situation has been allowed to develop? It looks and looked as if Guide Dogs UK was no longer prioritising the very group of people who it was set up to help.
Yes, I wouldn't agree that we've not prioritised those people. In fact, I'm in that position myself. I'm a guide dog owner of about 35 years and I have no functional vision. And I would reflect that actually over the years, there have been significant changes in how we offer our services. In the early days, you would have had your dog brought to you in one of our residential facilities and you would have trained with your dog. Whereas now we are really working very hard to make sure that people experience their dogs earlier on in the process. I wouldn't necessarily agree that we have not prioritised people. In fact, the evidence certainly from this year, which is the year that we've been considering most recently, suggests that we are actually prioritising people who have no functional vision.
But didn't for quite a long time.
I would say that actually this has been a challenge for quite a long time. The 10 years of data suggests that this may always have been thus to some degree. And what I would expect, because we are prioritising people who have been waiting longer, that when we rerun this data next year, we will find that this has changed quite substantially because we are focusing on those people that have been waiting longer. Indeed, 25% of the matches that we've been made this year, only 25% have been to people that have been waiting for a year or less.
John Gerd, our emailer, says what's been happening is discrimination. Maybe not consciously, not deliberately, but discrimination nonetheless. I mean, according to the law, it doesn't have to be deliberate. It just has to demonstrate that people are treated differently and less favourably.
Yes, I appreciate the point that's being made. I wouldn't say we have treated or are treating people differently. We work through the same assessment process for everyone. What I would say, actually, is that we haven't actually focused as well as I think we might on the level of vision someone has and what that means for their lives, and indeed how that might change over time. So, for example, someone with no vision may actually need a dog that's very confident, and thinking about things like where a dog relieves itself, that lovely subject. You want to know where that is. You know, you want to be very confident that you can find that. So a lot of people will ask for dogs that actually relieve on concrete. If you find the inevitable scourge of a parked vehicle, you want your dog to be able to navigate that very effectively. So people are looking for dogs that have a high degree of confidence. I would say our approach so far actually has been to focus on people's individual needs. And that's something we will absolutely continue to do going forward.
But are there other, I mean, you mentioned the spending one, the technical term for relieving yourself amongst guide dogs. Are there different strengths a guide dog has to have when guiding a totally or almost totally blind person compared with those it needs with people who have some vision?
I don't think they're different strengths, but there may be different emphasis. So, for example, you really do want a dog. I would certainly want a dog with someone has no vision. I would want a dog that actually is not that distracted, because you're not always able to see or understand the nature of the distraction. You also want a dog that's actually going to, where a dog's recall is fantastic, because there's pretty little point in a dog standing 2 or 3 meters away from you and waiting to come back to you if you can't see where your dog is. So I think there's more emphasis on certain things rather than being different.
Is it possible some people will feel that guide dogs, which has been criticised in recent years for delivering less working partnership, is doing this because it can achieve a faster throughput of partnerships, thus, upping the numbers?
I can see how people might reach that assumption, but I don't believe that to be correct.
Quite a lot of people have reached that assumption.
I appreciate that. I mean, our aim at the moment is to continue to increase the number of partnerships we're creating. We have created 15% more than we did last year, and we will focus on those people who've been waiting the longest. And by dint of the research that we've been able to do, that includes a higher proportion of those people who have no residual vision.
I think people aren't necessarily arguing, and some listeners may think that we are, that those with a little sight can't and shouldn't benefit from a guide dog. But isn't it the case that someone with no or little vision is going to struggle more and have less alternatives for getting around while waiting for a dog, than someone with some sight? And yet you've said yourself, they're waiting 10 months longer on average.
I think that really does depend on the nature of someone's residual vision, because there are situations, for example, where, particularly at this time of year, as it begins to go dark earlier and earlier, people may really struggle as much as someone with no residual vision in those situations. And a level of residual vision needs to be considered against people's orientation and mobility needs. So I think this is a point of difference rather than one being better or worse than the other.
It was suggested by Andrew, your chief executive, that you weren't getting enough applications from totally blind people. That surprises me, and I wonder if you know why that might be, if that is really true, because at that point the research, the data hadn't been looked at really carefully. Is that true? And if so, why would that be true?
The data that we've looked at is actually around the matches that we've created rather than the application process. That's a piece of work we do still need to do. We do know that people are continuing to reapply for a guide dog, but we also know that the number of new applications has changed. So we've got some work to do to understand the level to which someone's vision is a factor in that. We don't have an answer to that question yet.
John Gerd and many others aren't happy that you're going to wait another year and see what the figures say then. After all, you've implied that this has been the case for some time. I think you said earlier in this interview that maybe it had always been the case. But don't you really know as much as you're going to know now? This could be put right by a conscious decision to prioritise blind people, not put them to the back of the queue in a category of the too difficult.
So let me stress that we are prioritising people, and the data supports that right now, with more than 50%, around 50% of the matches that we create against a third of people on the waiting list who are in the category with no functional vision. So we will continue to focus on people who have been waiting a long time, and that will address this point to some degree. However, there is much more that we can do and will do. So we're making sure that all of our academy trainees that come through have experience of working dogs and working with people who have got no functional vision. So as they progress through their training, that's important to us. The other thing I'm also very keen that we do, and we have piloted this in the past, but we'll introduce it more fully in the year to come, is I think it is important that dogs actually work with real people. And by that, I mean people that have got different levels of vision before they actually qualify. Now, we'll need to think quite carefully about how we achieve this, but definitely we've tried it so far in a number of teams, and we will be rolling that out over the coming years so that dogs have experience of working with real people in a different context, as well as all of the experience they have working in training under blindfold.
listening to this, I suspect people will think, hang on, shouldn't you have realised this a long time ago? I mean, people have been saying this on this programme, they've been in conversations, they've been saying it's difficult. And you have tended to say, and on the occasions when I've interviewed you, well, we got no evidence to suggest that's really the case. Shouldn't you have been listening to people on this issue a long time ago and doing something more about it? I accept what you're saying is we're doing it now, but how many people have waited many years for a guide dog when they shouldn't have done?
I don't accept that people have waited when they shouldn't have done. I think, as I've covered already, we have actually tried to prioritise those people that have been waiting the longest. And I was clear with those people waiting earlier this year that might mean that if you've been waiting for less than a year, that you may actually need to wait slightly longer while we prioritise people waiting. That has inevitably, by dint of this research, included people who have no functional vision. So I think we have been doing something quite substantially about that in this space. I think it's important for us to have taken the time to properly analyse 10 years of data so that we can understand what has been happening here. Now that we have understood it, I think it's important that we continue to make progress to address it, and that will include making sure that all of our dogs have experience of working with people with different levels of vision.
Are you going to publish this data? That's what John Gerd wants you to do.
The data itself it is a very large data set, and therefore we wouldn't publish it in the way that it's currently constructed. What we will undertake to do is revise the data again next year in the light of the work that we've been doing to see what has changed. Because what we need to understand is whether the approach that we're taking now, i.e. to focus on those people that have been waiting the longest, and also the training and development of our dogs to work with a range of people, we need to make sure that those things are actually having practical results, because that's ultimately what we are all here for, to make sure that as many people as possible benefit from a guide dog.
But would you accept that maybe the general run of guide dog owner on this perhaps should have been listened to a bit more carefully?
We always try to make sure that we are listening very carefully to people. I'm very grateful to people that have contacted me directly about this subject. And actually, as a result of people doing that, we accelerated as far as we possibly could the analysis of the research. So this has come about due to us listening to people who've actually had concerns about this. Now that we better understand the issue, we'll be looking to make further progress on how we address it.
Peter Osborne, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
And that's it for today. As usual, we want your reactions and experiences on what we've discussed in this Guide Dog special. You can email in touch at bbc.co.uk or leave voice messages on 0161 836 1338. From me, Peter White, and our bronzed and returning producer Beth Hemmings, goodbye.
Scaffolding and Skips News week commencing the 7th of November 2025. In the Newport area, 1 to 8 Malthouse Court, Providence Corner Building, Pyle Street and Town Lane elevations, Toohey, Post Office Lane, 25 High Street, Carisbrooke, 19 C Street to Carisbrooke Road, and Newport area skips 79 Medina Avenue.
Ryde area, St Mary's Catholic Church, 55 High Street, The Heron, Union Street, House of Zaber, 12 Union Street, 5 Weeks Road, The Star Inn, High Street, 5 Station Street, Ryde Opticians, 40 Union Street, the ex-Barclays Bank, 7 High Street, 51 George Street, and Bembridge Sailing Club, Bembridge, and the Ryde area skips, 58 West Street.
Cowes area, the Portland Inn, Worsley Road, Gurnard, and the toilets on the Parade.
Shanklin area, Nationwide, Regent Street, 10 Eastcliff Road, 2 Esplanade.
Ventnor area, Old Town Hall Court, Albert Street.
Brading area, the Old Brading Town Hall, High Street.
Sandown area, 52 Fitzroy Street and Boots on the High Street.
And finally, Yarmouth area, the Old Town Hall, the Square.